vacancy? And hearing none, the minutes as presented on the agenda will stand as approved. The next item on the agenda is a report from the Facilities Division Director, Ron Hudson, of the status of board-approved projects. Mr. Hudson, please join us at the podium, and if you're ready, please begin.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Chairman Nichols, Mr. Collier, Mr. Welch, members. As you look to the board over here, item number 1 is the Michael Unit Roofing Project. This project is currently 32% complete. The contractor continues to work on building one roof, which is the admin building. Item number 2 is the Crane Unit Roofing Project to replace the roof at the reception satellite. The project is currently 98% complete. The contractor has installed both rooftop HVAC units. Final inspection is all that remains on this project. Item number 3 is the Montford Unit Roofing Project. This project is currently 81% complete. The contractor has completed the roof section on B1, which is the administration building, and has moved to section A1, which is inmate housing. This project continues to move forward. Item number 4 on the list is the Estelle Unit Textile Mill Roof Project. This project is complete. Item number 5 on the list is the Jester 3 Unit Roofing Project. This project is currently 38% complete. The contractor has completed the gym roof and has moved to Area Q, which is inmate housing cell block 7 and 8. Item number 6 is the Ramsey Unit Roofing Project. This project is currently 68% complete. The contractor has moved to the administration roof, and all HVAC units are scheduled to arrive in mid-December. Item number 7 is the Memorial Unit Project to repair and replace building structures in the boiler room. This project is complete. Item number 8 is the Holiday Unit Design Only Project to construct a new training facility. This design-only project is currently 11% complete. Item number 9 on the list is the Chase Field Refurbish Repair Water Towers 1 and 2 and Ground Storage Tank. This project is currently 74% complete. The contractor has completed ground storage tanks 1 and 2 and is currently installing the containment system around the scaffold of Water Tower number 2. Item number 10 on the list is the Wainwright Unit Design-Only Project to construct a wastewater treatment plant. This project is complete. Item number 11 is the Wainwright Unit Design-Only Project to construct a water treatment plant. This project is complete. Item number 12 is the Robertson Project to add electronic water controls. This project is currently 75% complete. Electrical and plumbing has been completed in buildings 3, 4, 7, 8, 10, and 12 buildings. Contractor is currently installing electrical and plumbing in 18 and 19 buildings. And I'm happy to report to the board, since these buildings are complete and they're online, so far just in the month of September, we have seen a 5 million gallon reduction in water in just 1 month putting these buildings online. So thank you for approving this project. Item number 13 is the Michael Unit Project to replace the fire line restrictive housing in 12 building. This project is currently 96% complete. Pressure testing, pipe labeling, sheetrock repair, and installing wall boxes are all that remain. Item number 14 is the Chase Field Repair Fire Alarm System and install fire suppression system in Building 2040. This project is currently 63% complete. Contractor has installed the sprinkler heads and alarm devices on all 3 floors and is currently building the mechanical room for the fire suppression system. Item number 15 is the Telford Unit Project to replace hot water and steam piping. This project is currently 97% complete. The contractor is awaiting arrival of insulation sleeves for steam piping expansion joints, at which time the final inspection will be scheduled. Item number 16 is the Johnston Unit Project to install emergency power in multiple locations. This project remains at 3% complete, awaiting the arrival of the generators, which are now scheduled in December of 2023. Item number 17 is the Johnson Unit Project to install air conditioning systems in building B1, B2, B3, pods 1 through 9. This project is currently 90% complete. Connection of the last 2 HVAC units, final inspection, and startup are all that remains on this project. Item number 18 is the GIST Unit. Install air conditioning systems building A. This project is at 35% complete. All HVAC units are on site and installation is scheduled to begin in the next few weeks. Item number 19 is the Ramsey unit replace Region 3 training building. This project is currently 37% complete. Contractor has installed the tilt wall panels in the roof deck support system. This project continues to move forward. Item number 20 is the Conley unit install monitored pulse fence detection system perimeter. This project is currently 7% complete. The contractor has mobilized and is currently trenching and installing conduit. Item number 21 is the Michael unit install monitor pulse fence detection system perimeter. This project is complete. Item number 22 is the Telford unit install monitored fence pulse detection system perimeter. This project is currently 90% complete. Inspection and training are all that remain. This concludes my project status update. I will stand by for any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Hudson. Are there any questions from the board?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Hudson, you and I talk about the water treatment plant. 10 and 11, I think, both at Wainwright. The design is completed. When is the construction going to begin, and how long does it take?
Okay, now that the construction is complete, that will be sent over to our contracts and procurement, where they will issue out for bids. So
Okay.
that will be sent out. So hopefully, maybe by February, April boards, hopefully I will be bringing that project back to the board.
Okay, I hope if I'm still around, I'd like to come and see it.
Yes, sir. Be glad to take you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Still around. Mr. Hudson, let me ask you about number 18, the GIST air conditioning system, approved August 2022, original completion date July 2022, revised date May 2024. Most of our revised dates are a year or less than a year. Is there something going on with that in that location that would cause this delay?
Okay. One of the delays was the HVAC equipment, like generators, HVAC equipment. So a lot of that equipment was delayed. That equipment is now on site now. The same vendor that has the Johnston contract has the GIST contract. So as soon as he gets done with Johnston, he will be moving to the GIST unit.
All right, tell
So
him to
they are
hurry
wrapping
up.
that up, and that's why within the next couple of weeks he'll be mobilizing there.
Okay.
Yes,
good.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes.
And Mr. Hudson, don't want to lose the headline here, so did you say on the number 12, the Robertson unit, was that 5 million gallons?
5 million gallons. So that's about a 25% reduction now, and we're not even complete with the project.
Is that something that we're thinking about rolling out to other units as well?
Yes, sir. The Conley unit down in South Texas is the next unit that we are working on now on the paperwork with the SECO to have that project brought online, hopefully sometime this year.
And I expect when you're talking about volumes of water like 5 million gallons, those are projects that can basically, you could pay for themselves pretty quickly, I imagine.
They do, and I put pen to paper this week, and if that project continues to go at the rate it's going at Robertson, we should have a payback somewhere between 8 and 9 years on that project.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Any more questions? Okay, Mr. Hudson, thanks for your report there, and I understand you have 2 more items for us. If you're ready, please continue.
Yes, sir. I have 2 projects I'm going to be looking for approval today. The first project for consideration is the engineering design only for the installed HVAC at A, B, C, and D housing at the Beto unit. The work will consist of installing new air handlers, chilled water piping, chilled water compressors, cooling towers, pumps, new ductwork on the 3rd floor of the housing areas, electrical and other modifications to present systems to provide cooling. The new system will meet all applicable requirements and standards for comfort, indoor air quality, and efficiency. The new units will be connected to emergency backup power. If approved, the work will be performed by Stanley Consultants, Inc. out of Austin, Texas. A total estimated program cost is $1,182,200. As you heard me say, this is for A, B, and C dorms. In your books, it's going to say A and C dorms. After we completed our investigatory work within the last few weeks, and this was already submitted, our engineers and our partner Stanley Consultants did their investigatory work, their site visits, and they determined that they could actually do A, B, and C dorms at the same time. So what that'll do is our original projection was 402 beds. By adding those other 2 housing areas, that will bring that total beds to 792 beds. So I'll pause for any questions.
Go ahead, proceed.
Okay. The next project for consideration is the engineering design for structural repairs to inmate housing J1 through J4 dorms at the Lionel unit. The work will consist of designing a new structure adjacent to the existing building to house mechanical equipment. The design will address repairing walls under damaged flooring in existing mechanical room, concrete columns and beams supporting the damaged floor, and exterior precast panels. Non-structural damage in the mechanical room will also need to be replaced. If approved, the work will be performed by Half Associates, Inc. out of Richardson, Texas. Total estimated program cost is $1,618,700. I'll pause for any questions.
Okay, hearing none. There being no further business, the Texas Board of Criminal Justice Business and Finance Operations Committee is now adjourned. And I guess time now is 9:14. Thank you, Mr. Hudson.
I had to pound it first, right? Very heavy. I'm glad I went to the gym every morning. The meeting of the Texas Board of Criminal Justice Correctional Institution Committee is called to order in accordance with chapter, time. Okay, I forgot to tell the time.
You have to wait. Now.
I'm sorry. I start early. All right, now it's time. You see, I don't do this every day. That's why I had to practice. Okay. The meeting of the Texas Board of Criminal Justice Correctional Institution Committee is called to order in accordance with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. The opening meeting acts, a quorum of the committee is present, and the meeting is now declared open. It is 9:15. Bingo. I have to do it first again. Okay. The first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Are there any amendments or objection to the proposed minutes as presented? Are there any further objection or amendments? Hearing none, the minutes as presented on the agenda will stand approved. I better put my glasses on. Okay, our next item on the agenda is an update from the Correctional Institutions Division CIA Director Bobby Lumpkin. Will be presenting today. Mr. Lumpkin, please join us at the podium. If you're ready, please proceed.
Thank you, Ambassador Siv. Good morning, Chairman Nichols, Ambassador Siv, members of the board, Mr. Collier. As introduced this morning, we'll give an update on our 2023 system-wide lockdown that was initiated the first week of September. We'll provide you background on why that decision was made at the time, what that process includes during the lockdown and shakedown of all our 100 facilities. Of course, our partnership with other divisions during that process, what some of the fines have been, the significant incidents have occurred during that time, and then going forward, where we're at today on the lockdown itself, and also what other initiatives have been implemented and will be maintained going forward to try to interdict any contraband coming into our facilities. So with that, next slide, please. The decision in the first week of September to lock down the entire agency was based on a couple of incidents, and should preface this by saying the last time we had a system-wide lockdown was in 2008. And a cell phone at the time fell into the hands of a death row inmate who called a state official on their cell phone, and the decision in 2008 was to lock down the agency statewide. This is the first time since 2008. Now, pre-2008 and post-2008, there are ongoing searches every day in our institutions. Our facilities go on a semi-annual lockdown to search for dangerous and nuisance contraband, but every day there's some type of cell searches, search of a person, search of common areas, trying to detect any contraband or dangerous items. So Labor Day weekend, find the laser, sorry about that. So Labor Day weekend, we had 5 homicides leading up in the weekend, towards the weekend and days after the weekend. Out of those 5 homicides, 3 of those had some type of tie to illicit substance. Whether there was indications that the assailant or the victim had signs of narcotic use, synthetic cannabinoids, meth use, were tied to that. To date, we have had 21 homicides, which is an unprecedented number in TDCJ. Pre-1990, of any number seen like that, numbers like that before were tied to gang activity during the gang wars in the 80s, coming out of the building tender system. The current 21 homicides, there's not necessarily a link that one is connected to the other because of gang war or anything such as that. Majority of them point back towards the use of narcotics and again, the meth and the synthetic cannabinoids. Also to date, it does state 51 suicides. Unfortunately, we had one yesterday at the Smith unit in Lamesa, and we're now at 52 suicides. Again, on any death, we do work with our partners of University of Texas Medical Branch, with OIG, and with our Medical Health Services Division on autopsies to include toxicology screening. Of course, those results do lag a little bit when they come in, but we do pair up working with executive services where we see that one of those individuals had some type of illicit substance, and we do see that. Also this year, we've had 17 drug-related deaths that could be termed as accidental in overdose stage. Those results of autopsies you see on your handout have 8 confirmed overdose deaths. That is going to be meth and some synthetic cannabinoids, with another 9 suspected pending those results coming in. I also want to note that in 2021, we did start issuing out Narcan to reverse the effects of K2, meth, and so forth to our first line supervisors that are responding to any incidents on our correctional facilities. We've also outfitted our mail rooms, and I'll talk about mail here in a little bit, but we also issued this out to our mail rooms. Since 2022, this year we have seen an increase of 158% in the number of instances of Narcan use. So 366 as of this week. Just about every day we are having a Narcan use. It has proved to be effective. And at times also it's proved, unfortunately, to be beyond the state of bringing somebody back. Next slide. This is a snapshot of the last 5.5 years of the increase in certain types of contraband on the screen you see. And you see the increase in this last column. So just to note, cell phones, this is a monthly average. So in 2022, we exceeded 200 plus cell phones a month at 267. And through September of this year, we're at 272. So well over 3,000 cell phones that are found within our correctional systems in the state of Texas. You'll see a huge increase in illegal drugs, a monthly average of 104, a 678% increase over the five and a half year difference. And then again on K2, synthetic cannabinoids, an increase where you see the 256,000. Now, to point out on the illegal drugs, K2, we use field tests to test for those items. If someone is found in possession, we do turn those results certainly over to OIG, Office Inspector General, who also will confirm whether that is actually a positive on that type of illicit activity or illicit drug, and then hopefully pursue criminal charges. I do want to point out on cell phones and on drugs, just to put a dollar amount, we work this through our OIG and through our Fusion Center and through our wardens that deal with this day in, day out. So a cell phone on one of our facilities probably goes for about $1,000 to $1,200. A sheet of K2 goes for around $800 to $1,000. A gram of meth, approximately 100, and that fluctuates depending on the market on the units, unfortunately. A pack of cigarettes, around $100, and a stamp of size K2 synthetic cannabinoids, $50. Of course, you see money, and you don't see a big increase in money. 3 instances on average per month, and that's because in this day and age, we don't find the money. It's done through, namely, Cash App. Cash App is the number one that we often find. User IDs, passwords, terminology within our mail system, possibly the Fusion Center has identified, or a warden. It's virtual digital transactions, and we try to educate the families of these loved ones. I know a video recently went out on social media educating the families of loved ones that we do nothing with Cash App in our agency. You don't have to put money on the inmate's trust fund. There's nothing that we do that we deal in the world of Cash App. So if your loved one is asking you to move money on Cash App, there's probably something wrong with that. And so I know recently social media, working with communications, Office of Family Services, Mr. Collier, continue to put that message out. We also visit with family groups at our Inmate Family Summit or inmate chapter meetings, family chapter meetings, trying to educate that for that percentage that is unfortunately continues to deal in the dangerous contraband, that Cash App or signs of that are an indication that there's some illegal activity going on.
Mr. Lumpkin, would you go through those money amounts again on what
Sure.
particular?
Sure. So for a cell phone, approximately $1,000 to $1,200. For a sheet of K2 synthetic cannabinoid, $800 to $1,000. And on a sheet, one may take their ID card, similar to our driver's license, and draw a square around each part of that sheet and sell one of those for $100. And with that comes multiple hits, multiple effects of using that narcotic. Meth, approximately $100 a gram. A pack of cigarettes, $100. And a stamp size piece of contraband, $50.
And if you could, just educate us on one sheet, how many doses would that represent typically?
Well over 100 plus doses. Yes, sir. Next slide,
Mr.
please.
Lumpkin,
Yes, sir.
do you expect to see any uncommon items in the future?
What kind of items?
Uncommon, not unusual.
As far as
All the items, the contraband items. Anything unusual that you would expect to see in the future? I mean, you've seen a lot of things here.
really right now, it is the synthetic cannabinoids in meth. Suboxone is something that's not common in Texas. It's more on the
Okay.
East Coast. They have a challenge. We're starting to see Suboxone. It's used in the detox of somebody on opioids. So other than that, it's 20, 30 years ago, it was marijuana.
Marijuana.
And then, of course, now when I talk about mail, we'll talk about how it's secreted on paper and able to be sent in through our mail system before. And so that's been the most common finds recently, and then some Suboxone, but it's been generally in those ranges of those type of items.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
What about fentanyl? Are we finding that?
Fentanyl, and was going to point out a little bit, but fentanyl is along the same lines as synthetic cannabinoids, but that there is not a urinalysis test that will test for Chinese fentanyl. Now, medical fentanyl, yes, but we know it's the Chinese version that's being used, and unfortunately, there's not what's referred to as a NARC-2 test that tests for different panels of drugs that will detect the K2 synthetic, but especially fentanyl also. For example, any urinalysis test that comes back positive, we send for a lab confirmation. And unfortunately, we've had some over 1,000 K2 positive tests at the unit level, sent that to lab confirmation, and they've all come back negative. So that's the challenge in being able to detect how much fentanyl actually is in the system and synthetic cannabinoids.
What about these weapons? I know you have this listed. What kind of weapons did we find? 249? What are we finding?
So in a few slides, I'll have some pictures and be able to show you some of the type of weapons that we are finding and what those are made of.
Okay. Oh, do we know how they're getting in too? You going to tell us about that?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other question from the board?
Oh, he's not through. He's still going. We interrupted.
Still got a few
I'm
slides.
sorry.
No
Oh, my
problem.
goodness. All right.
No problem. So next few slides will show you some pictures of contraband that has been discovered. Some of these are pre-system-wide lockdown. Some of them are during the lockdown and since that time. The first is at the Memorial Unit in Rosharon. That is a black plastic bag that is caught in the fence. And we actually have footage. It's pretty grainy, but we have footage where 3 individuals ran up to the fence from outside the facility. So free-rolled individuals in the middle of the night ran up and threw 3 packages over the fence there at the memorial unit. One of them got caught up. We did not discover the other 2 because it was post-investigation where we see the 3 individuals approach the fence. Just in this one package were 7 cell phones, a number of packs of Newport cigarettes, and thought to be what was in the other 2 packages, probably similar items. This middle picture, and of course, it's probably a good time to talk about how things are coming in, and they're coming in any way that you would imagine. We know that, for instance, with Memorial, you have staff, or unfortunately, families or friends of loved ones making a drop after hours on some part of our thousands of acres, whether it's an agricultural operation, and then during the day, a trustee, whether they be a tractor driver, a cowboy that's going to check the fence line to ensure our fences are in good condition for our cattle, or basically muling those items back to the area of the unit, and then finding ways to introduce that into the fences of the unit. Unfortunately, at times, we do have had staff that have introduced contraband, and that's the example in this middle from the All-Red unit, working with Office Inspector General and our narcotic dogs. I should talk about our narcotic dogs that screen employees coming into our agency, especially on our maximum security units. We had an alert on an employee. A search warrant was secured through OIG. They did an x-ray of the individual at the local hospital to ensure they had nothing confined within their body. But they did find these fruit slices that are similar to what you would buy in a convenience store or actually in our commissary that the employee was trying to bring back in. That ended up testing for 128 or laced with meth, around 128 grams of meth. Of course, that's still under investigation. Can't comment more than that, but that was discovered. And so unfortunately, at times, we do have staff and or visitors introducing contraband in. We also have some drone activity. We don't know to what level. I'll talk about some drone detection pilots here shortly. So those are some of the most common, and then of course the mail, which we'll cover here shortly. At the Luther unit, these water bottles were found on the inmate that was thought to be a part of the contraband system, and sure enough, they did test positive to have synthetic cannabinoids within. It's not the entire liquid. If it was, it would be thousands of dollars in value, but they did have some type of synthetic cannabinoid within the water bottles. I'll talk about water bottles here shortly. Next one, Mike. So water, pre-system-wide lockdown, employees can bring water in, bottled water, but we also sell bottled water out of our commissary. So that various brands. So it could have been one that was bought out of the commissary that was later they put the synthetic cannabinoid into, or it could have been a water bottle brought in by an employee also. Here are some significant finds that were found during the lockdown. And the Bill Clemens unit, one of our maximum security units in maximum security facility in Amarillo, these 3 pictures, what you see here is a cell door in one of our restrictive housing areas of the unit. And with that, those doors come with what's called a food slot that you open to feed the inmates their tray, but also to place them in mechanical restraints because they're an assaultive group before you remove them from the cell. The contraband interdiction team, search team, noticed an abnormality in the structure of the food slot and peeled back a piece that had been cut out with some type of illegal cutting instrument, and found within 3 separate cell doors 19 cell phones and a number of SIM cards and chargers, and also different items of illicit substances. Here in the middle, this is the Ferguson unit. The Ferguson unit, I believe that's 20 cell phones. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm wrong page. 20 cell phones. These were actually located in an outbuilding outside the facility. Again, where a trustee inmate would try to introduce that into the confines of the Ferguson unit. They're actually vacuum packed. That's common to see. Narcotics or even phones vacuum packed to protect them from the weather until they can get them into the system. And then here at the Stiles unit, this is 20 vacuum packs of tobacco, 8 cell phones, 2 chargers, and some other miscellaneous items. Next slide, please.
In that Ferguson, you found the 20 cell phones, right?
Yes, that's correct. Here's some examples of the weapons that you asked about, Judge Johnson. So to date, we've had over 500 weapons discovered. These are the most dangerous weapons that are depicted here, but a weapon could also be a pencil or a toothbrush with a razor blade melted on the end of it. These items could come from fencing material. They could come from a desk inside a cell where they have broken off a side of it through time. They could come from various pieces of shelf metal. Also, our fans that are sold through the commissary or given to our offenders, they have actually a rod in those that they could also break their fan and remove and make a weapon out of. We've worked closely with commissary for more than a couple years trying to find a fan that does not have that type of mechanism, and it's almost impossible to find such a device. So to mitigate heat, we certainly want to continue to sell fans, but also through our search processes detect any that have been compromised. Another one would be the use of a fan motor. There's not a picture necessarily on here, but we've had assaults in the past that were somebody busting their fan up, taking the motor out, putting it in a sock or put it on the end of something and assaulting someone. And then also, this may not exactly be the rod I'm thinking of, but there's also a rod within a typewriter. And again, our typewriters look like something that different from what you or I would buy at Office Depot. It's actually has a plastic case where you can see within the confines of a typewriter, but there is a rod in there that one can manipulate their typewriter and use that as a weapon.
How would an inmate have access to a typewriter? Is that coming from staff?
No, they can actually purchase a typewriter through the commissary.
Can?
Yes. Yes. And not every inmate does, but we certainly have some that do. Some that are active in the law library or fighting their case may purchase a typewriter and use it, and then some just still, there's some generation out there that still uses a typewriter, but probably less and less these days. Next slide, please. We talk about mailroom, and of course, last board meeting, we discussed mailrooms. And then going forward, so pre-system-wide lockdown, we did start the pilot at 10 facilities going to the digital mail, where all general correspondence would go to a site in Farmers Branch, Texas, near Dallas, just north of downtown Dallas, and that mail received there would be scanned, uploaded ultimately to the tablet. With the system-wide lockdown initiation, we did go statewide today, where all general correspondence coming in from a loved one is going through the digital mail process. And the reason for that was tied to just an overabundance challenge of the 9.5 million pieces of mail that come through each year, and how many of those, unfortunately, these days now are laced with liquid K2, synthetic cannabinoid, meth, PCP, and Suboxone. These are some examples here. We require that standard white paper be used so that we can detect whether there's a texture that's been placed on the correspondence. These are examples. These all tested positive. Even an envelope, you commonly, if you find Suboxone, it's going to be behind the flap of the envelope or behind a stamp. And so through either a narcotic dog process of searching these items or through staff detecting it while they're reviewing it and notice an abnormality with that is resulted in positive tests. And in the next slide, we'll show you some of those discoveries. So to put it in perspective, out of 9.5 million pieces, 11,000 plus, there was some type of dog alert that was confirmed dog alert. So the dog alerts, we still go through a process to have it double checked by that narcotic dog that is a certified canine, or just suspicious activity that's been detected by staff, by the mailroom staff. Out of those, we were not able to clear 1,649, which were drug tested, and we had the positive at a 1314 positive drug test. That's in 2023, and similar numbers of 2022. Unfortunately, can tell you that there's a lot that we missed. The abundance of mail that comes in, the hard mail, and the different ways of secreting it within the correspondent is difficult. And we know that what we find inside our facilities points to that. So therefore, the decision was made to go to the digital mail system across the state. What we did when we initiated the lockdown is we took 4 days of mail that was already in transit on the way to the unit from a loved one, and we sent that to the Dallas Center. Instead of sending it back to the families and telling them, nope, we're not taking mail anymore, we did take 4 days of mail, which ended up being about 25,000 envelopes, to the Dallas Processing Center. The processing center, of course, was already receiving mail from those 10 facilities, now from all facilities. They did have a backlog to work those 25,000 pieces of mail. We were around 5 days of being out of that backlog, and because the way the process works is that once it's reviewed and sent through the scan system, that it goes to the inmate's tablet within 72 hours. That's being met on those items being received directly at the address in Farmers Branch. But again, the 25,000 we piled on top of them when we initiated the system-wide. They're just now getting out of that. And I know we heard some of that actually walking Mountain View the other day, and shared with a young lady that, yes, we did have a challenge, that we are almost out of that backlog now. We actually sent staff from the agency to help support that extra workload to Dallas each week. That's not something we'll sustain going forward. It is on the contractor to perform, and we'll oversight that contract to ensure, working with our IT division and with our business finance division, to ensure they meet the specs of the contract, the requirements. But knowing that we put 25,000 on top of them, we did augment with some staff to go up and help.
Are we getting any hits on the legal mail? And if so, about what is that percentage?
The percentage is unknown. We absolutely know that contraband is coming through the legal mail system. We receive around 4,000 pieces of legal mail each week. Again, it is tested, or I'm sorry, it is checked for any indication on the outside of the envelope that there's something confined on it. Of course, you can't see the inside until you open up in front of the inmate and check for physical contraband. But we do have our narcotic dogs also checking those packages, those correspondence. We have stood up in the past couple of weeks that the mailroom actually attempts to make contact with who sent that to verify that they did send it. And we have had indications. We had one this week in Region 4 in the I believe Conley unit, or McConnell, one of the two, where 2 different law firms said, nope, I did not send that. We tested it, did test positive for a narcotic. So we're in the process now of doing that. We're actively meeting internally, and of course at the direction of Chairman Nichols and Mr. Collier on the way forward with legal mail of what we could do to help detect the number of instances coming in that is not legit legal mail, while also not violating their constitutional right and violating the board policy on what's expected of legal mail.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go to the next one, Mike. Just an update on the lockdown, where we're at today. This is a little dated. It showed that we had 91 units complete. We actually have 97 completed as of today. The Telford unit was completed this morning. And we have 3 units, the Michael unit, the Cofield unit, and the Bill Clemens unit. No, I'm sorry, the Allred unit, the Michael unit, and the Cofield unit that will be completed on Monday. And that will conclude the system-wide lockdown. Of course, shakedown continues ongoing every day. Next slide, please.
You said Michael, Cofield, and who else?
Allred. Next slide has a lot of information to take in and to digest. This is something that we have tracked every single day, AM and PM. Units feed this into a share-all drive that we're able to pull down and to collect all the finds of these types of contraband statewide of units that are still on lockdown. So as mentioned, there's 3 on lockdown today. Once we conclude Monday, we'll finalize this list of items that were found during the system-wide lockdown. Unfortunately, you see large amounts in different types of contraband. Even though some of the men and women that are incarcerated know that there's a system-wide lockdown and they know that we're coming to detect contraband, they still trying to find ways to secrete it in a common area or even on their self. Some may be an ongoing disciplinary issue. They don't have necessarily any good time left to lose. And so there's not necessarily in their mind, there's not a risk to go ahead and try to hang on to that. Common areas, we'll find false bottoms, unfortunately, in a corner desktop of a cell. We've found a false bottom, of course, showed you the example of the cell front. So there's different areas. This week at the Clemens unit, we found contraband that was placed on the top of one of our air handlers in a dormitory area, a common area. So that's an ongoing battle too. So some of the highlights you'll see here, we talk about alcohol. That's going to be namely homemade alcohol, commonly known jailhouse as hooch, of some kind of form, whether it's fruits or other things they've used to make a homemade alcohol. Cell phones, today over 400 cell phones. The SIM cards or chargers that, of course, relate to cell phones. The currency, again, is a low amount. We talked about the digital process of moving monies. The K2 sheets, 414 full sheets of K2 with 350 stamps. Liquid K2, 151 plus ounces. Some ounces of marijuana. Fentanyl that did test positive on a field test. Again, we do have a field test that will test positive. We do work again with our OIG to confirm that it is a good test. And then some other dangerous type items. And of course, talked about weapons being at this point over 5,000. On the left-hand side, you see the number of drug tests. We have a population of 130,000 today. Close to 80,000 were drug tested. Majority of all of our inmates on our maximum security units, where we know we have a high prevalence of contraband, were drug tested. 1,677 positives with 700 plus refusals. If you refuse, you receive a disciplinary, just like if you had a positive test. You have most likely a reason why you're refusing. But again, on the number of positives, remember that there's not a urinalysis test that catches every fentanyl positive or every synthetic cannabinoid. So that is a challenge. Next slide, please. So during the lockdown, certainly talked about earlier, some items that were initiated, but also going forward, things that will be either have been initiated or will be once they're received. So the first thing we did was go to basically a TSA model that employees are no longer allowed to bring bottled water in. However, working closely with Ron Steffa, Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Collier, we have supplied water from our commissary warehouse statewide. Any employee, whether they're a security officer, correctional officer, an OIG investigator, Windham School District employee, can be provided water as they enter the unit. We tell them 2 bottles each, but realistically, Mr. Stefan might not like to hear it, give them all the water they want. So we have gone to a TSA model to cut that out. Now, there's other things that come in. If it comes in with prescription, there's different types of eye drops or ointments that one may need. We have processes for that. Narcotic dog screenings. All 23 of our maximum security units have at least 3 narcotic dogs for each facility. And so you'll see a screen process. Some of you have seen that on your unit tours, where you still go through some type of pat search. You go through a metal detector, and then the last piece is you actually stand on one side of a screen where a narcotic dog screens you, standing facing the dog, and then turn around and inform the check behind you. If there is a hit from a narcotic dog, that's a reasonable suspicious test. We work with our Human Resource Division to have that employee submit it for a urinalysis.
And we can attest that when we went to Hobby, we went through that.
That's correct.
There was no hit on us.
There was none. Yes, there was none. Everybody cleared. The other items that we're working on with, of course, coming out of session, monies that were appropriated, we were providing monies to purchase millimeter wave and X-ray body scanning systems. So those scope of works are being built right now, working with our contracts procurement group. Our 23 maximum security units will have a millimeter wave piece of equipment in the front of the unit for all visitors and staff. It looks exactly like TSA, where you go in, you put your hand up above you. We'll have that process. We have 2 right now in the system that we purchased earlier this year, and are at the Polunsky unit. We're actually relocating one of those to the Stiles unit, but we're working on outfitting each of the facilities with that technology. The X-ray body scanning is something that would be used where we process our outgoing and incoming inmates being assigned to a unit to be able to check for anything that has been secreted. We currently do have 1 mobile X-ray trailer that we're able to move about the state, And it will pick up a number of things. We had an inmate this week, it picked up a SIM card that was secreted within his body. We put them on watch until that is retrieved in time. But the x-ray systems we will be able to use on our inmate population. It has safeguards in place that are required by standards on how many exposures you have in a year's time. So that is built into the system also. Increased frequency of drug urinalysis testing. We continue to purchase tests to ensure that we up our testing on those that we know are part of the contraband system. Inmates, of course, as I mentioned earlier, on our maximum security units, of course, targeted and random testing also is ongoing. Additional cell sense PO technology. Some of you have seen that. It is standard, stands a little taller than this camera and tripod that you walk by and will catch anybody with a cell phone or a weapon, depending on what it's made of. We have increased our inventory of those each year. Pilot drone detection. We have a few units. I don't want to name them in a public forum where those are. I can tell you certainly offline where we're doing some drone pilot testing, or I'm sorry, detection testing that looks like whether it be an antenna that's placed on a unit or mobile speed that you see on the side of a highway, something similar to that if it detects something within that geofence, it immediately alerts a device, the warden's phone and OIG investigator's phone, so that they could go to that area. So that technology is evolving every single day. We talk with other states and agencies to see what they've had successes in, and try to find the best one in the best interest of our taxpayers' dollars and of our processes to detect. Next
Mr.
slide, please.
Lumpkin,
Yes, sir.
I'm very intrigued by the drone technology. Is there any device that can also detect thermal from drone, or is that something that not yet ready?
There are devices that can detect thermal, and we actually are doing a pilot on one of our facilities.
Okay.
That's on the ground. It's not necessarily looking for drones, but part of the technology is some infrared technology as well.
That's great. Thank you.
Yes, sir. On this slide, just as Ambassador, as you led into, the infrared cameras installed in strategic locations that alert if there's a heat sense or an infrared hit. We only are piloting that on one facility right now, working to hopefully do that on some other facilities, especially our trustee camps. Our trustee camps is a living area outside of the main unit. It's where we have some vulnerability. It is, again, somewhere where an inmate may recruit somebody that is young and agile to leave the camp after hours to go pick up a bag such as what you saw on the fence at the memorial unit to bring stuff back in. So an infrared system, the right one that has the bells and whistles that are needed to detect someone would be a benefit to our operations. So we are doing a pilot on that as we speak. Of course, body-worn cameras and how that plays in the detection of contraband certainly shows the interaction day in, day out of a correctional officer in our agency. So we have finished the scope of work, working with contracts procurement, hopefully to get that out soon for bids. We'll have a number of facilities, 23 facilities that will have body-worn cameras. Digital mail system, talked about it. And then tablets, our G5 custody, which is the custody of our it's our most disciplinary prone custody of our general population. That's one step below going to restrictive housing. So commonly in there you may have an assaultive history. Certainly you could have a history of cell phones, narcotics. When we rolled out tablets and started in 2021 and completed earlier this year, the decision was not to give G5 custody tablets. We want them to earn that as they progressed in their improvement. However, with idleness and what we've seen in the way of some of our homicides and suicides to try to address some idle time, we did make the decision to go ahead and give the G5s, which is around 3,000 inmates, roughly 3,000 inmates, tablets here recently to reduce idleness. And then also, I don't have a slide on it necessarily, but we'll mention our Fusion Center also has some new technology that they have used for several months. Leo Technologies Versus program, and it's state-of-art investigative tool that can word search in real time in a quick process of the phone calls that are allowed through our system through a tablet or through a wall phone. It can catch words quick. It can watch for inmates that we know that are part of the contraband introduction, as well as those displaying even mental health challenges. So that is something that the millions of minutes every day, or the million of minutes every month, that system is helpful for our investigators to, if we have an event, we quickly would jump on that system to try to detect whether it's an escape or another event, to determine if there's something being talked about through the phone system that ties back to that. And with that, I believe that's the end of the presentation, but certainly a pause for additional questions.
Chairman, if it's okay, I just had a couple of comments. One, I want to thank Mr. Lumpkin and the team of the Correctional Institution Division and all our divisions for all of their help as they have worked collectively to do this. You could see in our legislative appropriation request that we submitted to the legislature last year our efforts to try to help address this through some of the new technologies that are out there, and those are coming in the coming months. So I feel like the change in the mail process, and we will solve the legal mail process as well as books and pamphlets and identify a process for that so that we can improve our security at those facilities as we move forward. But obviously trying to create an environment that's safe, secure for our staff and our inmate population is key. But I think the other key is working with families and those advocate groups that are out there to try to make sure they understand, because absolutely they have the same mission in mind that we do, that this is a safe environment for all of us and that we try to work together to try to provide that. So one thing on cell phones I was going to mention is you talk about $1,000 for a cell phone. Cell phones inside are essentially time is rented. So a cell phone that comes into the system could be used by multiple inmates based upon their being able to rent that cell phone for a period of time. But thank you, Mr. Lumpkin.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Chairman, if I might, I want to make some general comments, but I want to dovetail off of what Mr. Collier just said. So help explain to everybody, when we're talking about cell phones as contraband, are we talking about phones that are being strictly used to call loved ones from prison? How do the cell phones play into generally the contraband issue that we're talking about?
Absolutely. It's for the illegal conversation about introducing of dangerous contraband into our facilities or movement of money that they don't want to do on the legit phone system because, just as I mentioned, the technology that can pick that up. They may use slang to still try to do that, but with an illegal cell phone, they can continue their criminal ways external to the agency, still in the streets of Harris County or Bexar County or Tarrant County and so forth, or absolutely the introduction of contraband. Also, the risk of having an illegal cell phone is that makes it absolutely almost unpreventable of a victim being contacted with a cell phone, even if it's a family member that was a victim of their crime. We have safeguards to do that with our phone system, but with an illegal cell phone, you're not able to protect them also.
Thank you. And just a general comment and maybe a couple of questions following up. First of all, I just want to thank you, Mr. Lumpkin, and the women and men that you work with in terms of your transparency on this issue. I mean, this is an issue where the taxpayers of the state of Texas deserve to know what's going on in the system. Their elected representatives deserve to know what's going on in the system. And I just appreciate the fact that you all have stepped forward. You're not trying to push this under a rug somewhere.
Yes, sir.
You're putting it out front and center,
Absolutely.
which is, and it's only by doing that that you can know what the issue is and address it. So I think that's point number one. Point number two is that in line with what Mr. Collier just said, we as a board very much appreciate the commitment that that our women and men within the Correctional Institutional Division and TBCJ generally have to addressing this issue. And examples that the public just saw of a correctional officer on a unit through his or her own initiative detecting a situation with a door that contained contraband. And
Yes,
it's
sir.
that kind of proactive work that that we very much appreciate. Third point is that I know we talk about staff being one source of entry for contraband. we fully appreciate that there are a very few of our employees who do that.
That's correct.
We appreciate that the vast majority of our employees come to work every day to serve the mission of the agency.
Absolutely.
And it's unfortunate that the actions of a few impact other employees, for example, by having to go through these screening processes when they come to work.
Absolutely.
And it also, I would hope that it's very few visitors that are doing that. But in effect, the actions of a few are causing additional ramifications for visitors. And then on the mail side, I know we heard comments in August from family members who recognize, as we all do, the value of having their handwritten mail come to the hands of an inmate. But it's the actions of a few in abusing that process that have led to the use of the digital mail process. Is that correct?
That's correct. And 130,000 inmates, it's not 130,000 that participate in this, just like our thousands of employees. It's a small cross-section percentage of those that are doing that.
And then to make it even worse, the use of the legal mail system process, which is by, as you rightly recognize, has protections for confidential communications between members of our population and their legal representatives, and to abuse that process to introduce these drugs as well, and others have to face the consequences for that. So I very much appreciate all those efforts, and also appreciate the efforts to make sure that we are taking steps to ensure that we're not going to be in these system-wide lockdowns every year or every 2 years.
Correct.
And do you feel comfortable that we are moving forward with steps that will put us in a much better place going forward, where you may not be able to ever control all contraband? None of us ever think that we're going to control all contraband, but be able to get us in a situation where we're not having, by my count, from your statistics, 41,500 doses of K2 on sheets being in our system.
Right. And as far as comfortable going forward, that's an everyday evaluation, but absolutely ongoing with the steps that have been implemented and will be maintained going forward. And the intelligence, working with our internal, external stakeholders, working intelligence. I should add that we also, during this process, stood up tip lines. So an inmate could actually submit a tip on a contraband or cell phone type situation, and a staff member could also, separate lines that are monitored by our fusion center, and those tips have resulted in some confirmed finds of additional contraband. So we're soliciting the help of the families, soliciting the help of those that are incarcerated or working within the walls of the agency that are not part of this, that do want to help work side by side, shoulder to shoulder, to prevent the jeopardizing of public safety, and that the many men and women go home safely, and that our staff coming in and out every single day go home safely.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Chairman.
It's great to hear that we have a small number of staff members who are participating in this problem, meaning smuggling in drugs. Hopefully they're not smuggling in weapons, but we're doing more than just firing them, I'm assuming. We're also prosecuting them. Is that correct?
We are working with the Special Prosecutor's Office and Office Inspector General, namely those two entities working together. And our hope is, yes, pursuing criminal charges in those instances, whether it's a visitor, a staff member, or someone that's incarcerated with us that could face additional time. We monitor monthly whether it's someone that's been unfortunately, or I say unfortunately, that maybe has been no bill, but those that have been convicted or indicted, and also as those sentences play out, that we work with our communications to get the word out that there is a consequence to actions such as that.
And is that part of that 12,000 we were talking about yesterday, cases that we were talking about? Is we talked about there's a lot of pending cases, and is that part of the staff as well as some of the inmates who have some pending cases?
I think some of that we were discussing was actually our internal inmate disciplinary case process. that we have some areas where we have
Okay.
some large caseloads to
Okay.
work on.
Sounds great.
But there is a number of cases pending, and certainly not speaking for Office Inspector General and Inspector Love, but yes, there are, I believe, a number of cases pending that they are working
Okay.
actively.
Thank you. Thank you for a great job that you've done in this process, and I echo the comments of all the other staff, all the other board members in terms of what you all have done. We so appreciate you.
Thank you, Judge Johnson. There's 1,000 men and women out there today, a few here in the room that do it day in, day out, and sometimes while many of us are asleep or enjoying a holiday off, they're still out there trying to prevent additional crime.
Thank you.
Chairman, one more question for Mr. Lumpkin. Thank you for your presentation. I want to just a real specific question on your second slide there. First slide on the protocol and process changes, point number 2 there. On the increased frequency of drug testing in our maximum security, I may have missed it in your presentation, but what is the regular testing schedule right now? What will it be increased to?
So we do a random drug test every month. Algorithm produces a number of inmates that need to be drug tested. We do the same thing for employees actually too. But we also do watch their ASI score, their prevalence of yes, sir. Did I say wrong, boss? Of use of substances that are tested. We also increase the testing of that type of population that has shown a history of using that. So we have a cadence each month of testing that goes on. Wardens also have the latitude to do drug testing immediately after an incident. For example, the suicide at Smith yesterday, the warden immediately would have initiated additional drug testing in that area to try to determine if that individual if there's something going on in that area right then. So we've just increased that testing statewide with a number of incidents and fines.
Okay, so just for clarity, in our maximum prisons, there's no routine, regular scheduled.
There is.
It still is, okay.
There's a routine random drug testing
All right.
that the warden receives each month that should be completed, and we track those stats. And then beyond, I know I got bogged down in the incidents where we do additional testing, but there is a routine random drug testing model, and those that have shown a score and a range where they have show a propensity of using an illicit substance.
Okay, and just going to be increased, so thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Lumpkin, thank you so much for the excellent presentation. I second Chairman Nichol on complimenting you on the way you conducted this system-wide lockdown. You have only 3 left, right? 3 units left?
Yes, 3 units that are
Okay.
wrap up Monday morning.
Congratulations in advance for the completion. I have 5 units before I completed all my tour, so I'm catching up with you.
You're catching us.
Is there any other question from the board?
I'd like to just ask one other question, and it relates to the shutdowns. At what point do the normal operations resume after you've completed your review of the facility itself?
So that's a great question. System-wide lockdown does not mean that all 100 stay completely shut down to the last one's finished. As they complete, we let activities, programmatic activities, school stand right back up. So in the first week, one of those slides kind of shows you the progression. In the first week, we were able to complete a number of our small facilities. The second week, a number of our medium-sized facilities. And of course, the bigger ones take a little bit more time. But as they're completed, we resume activities, visitation, and all things day-to-day operations of a facility.
Any other question? Thank you again, Mr. Lumpkin, for the excellent presentation. There being no further business, the Texas Board of Criminal Justice Correctional Institutions Committee is now adjourned at 10:07.
And we will take a 5-minute health break, and then we'll pick up with the regular board meeting.
This is heavy. This is heavy. I mean, you.
Good morning to all in attendance in person as well as to those attending virtually. The 231st meeting of the Texas Board of Criminal Justice is called to order in accordance with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, the Open Meetings Act. During this meeting, the board will be conducting business from the agenda posted in the Texas Register. Members of the board present for this meeting include myself, Eric Nichols, Vice Chair Faith Johnson, Judge Molly Francis, Ambassador Sishan Siv, Dr. Rodney Burrow couldn't be with us today, Sidney Zeiker, Bill Welch, and Nate Sprinkle. A quorum of the board is present and the meeting is now declared open. This meeting is being conducted in person and is also being broadcast on the Texas Department of Criminal Justice YouTube channel. It is 10:17. Before we get started, I would like to invite everyone present to stand if you are able and join us as a board in pledges of allegiance. Texas Department of Criminal Justice Deputy Executive Director Oscar Mendoza will lead us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As invited by the chairman, please join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our Texas pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I will now ask our board member, Pastor Nate Sprinkle, to offer a word of prayer as we start our meeting.
Thank you, Chairman Nichols. And before I pray, we are all very well aware of the conflict going on in the Middle East, the country of Israel, and our hearts certainly go out to those who have suffered so much, the loss of life, so many civilians still suffering even as we meet this morning. And so definitely our thoughts and our prayers are with them, and we'll go to the Lord and ask for peace in that land as well. As we consider that conflict, we are also reminded to be very thankful and grateful for the freedoms and the security that we enjoy here in the United States of America and certainly in this great state of Texas. Would you pray with me? Heavenly Father, in the name of your Son Jesus, we come to you today. With grateful hearts, we just want to begin by saying thank you. Thank you for being an amazingly good God, life-giving, grace-extending, tender, compassionate, patient, loving, giving, and forgiving. We all need each of these from you. And as we gather here this morning, Father, our hearts are turned toward the suffering, the loss of innocent life that's happened recently in the country of Israel. We just humbly ask you, our sovereign God, that you would guide those in authority and help there to be peace brought about in that nation so that the suffering would cease as quickly as possible. Father, thank you this morning for the talents and abilities that you've given to all who serve in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. As this board meets today, for any discussion or decision before us, we ask for your wise direction. You tell us all in your word that you give wisdom, and from your mouth come knowledge and understanding. So we ask for these from you today. And for all of us who have the responsibility and privilege of serving this great state, we thank you for the satisfaction that faithful service brings. May you be honored here today in all that is said and done, and we pray these things in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Sprinkle. As a courtesy to speakers and guests in the meeting, please turn your electronic devices to the silent or vibrate mode. Thank you. I would next like to recognize public officials and or staff representatives with us here today. Specifically, I would like to acknowledge our chairman of the Board of Pardons and Paroles, David Gutierrez, who has joined us here today. Also present, we have Mr. Scott McNaughton, from the office of our Texas Governor Greg Abbott, a policy advisor, And we are also welcoming today staff from the Sunset Advisory Commission. And specifically, we have with us here today Mr. Darren McDivitt, Mr. Eric Fajardo, Jamie Kim, Katharina Werschke, Sadie Smek, Sarah Gruen, Tejas Bamakanti, apologies, and Will Bucknall. We very much appreciate your being here today and for your support of us as we go forward in our work. We appreciate, of course, the attendance of everyone at the meeting, including other public officials or members of their staff who may be joining us online. The Texas Board of Criminal Justice is committed to providing an opportunity for public presentations on posted agenda topics, as well as for public comments on issues within its jurisdiction as provided in Board Rule 151.4. Persons interested in speaking at today's meeting were required to complete and submit a registration card at least 10 minutes prior to the meeting's posted start time. As no cards were received prior to the required deadline, the board will not hear public presentations on posted agenda items today or public comments or issues within the board's jurisdiction. This board, unfortunately, begins its meeting with a very somber remembrance and recognition. On September the 12th, we experienced a heartbreaking loss with the passing of our dear friend and colleague, Darylyn Perriman. All those who knew Darylyn loved her. At her core, which she displayed to all, Darylyn was a kind and caring person and a person with a true heart for service. For 21 years, Darylyn was the Victim Service Coordinator at the Arlington Police Department and later became the Victim Advocate Director at the Tarrant County District Attorney's Office before her retirement. One of her life passions, as part of her service to others, was the support of crime victims. She carried that passion forward while serving on this board. After joining the board in 2015, Darylyn served as vice chair, secretary, and chair of the Victim Services Committee. She was also a member of the board's Healthcare, Human Resources, and Rehabilitation and Reentry Programs committees. Darylyn was also keen on building up the next generation of advocates. She worked as an adjunct professor of social work at the University of Texas at Arlington and Texas Christian University, teaching and training the next generation of social workers to go out and make this world a better place. We could spend a long time today discussing all of the achievements Darylyn achieved and received during her career and her time with the board, because it is truly a long and impressive list. I want to share with you a poem by Ralph Waldo Emerson that was important to Darylyn, and I believe she had on the wall of her office, and which was read at a beautiful memorial service held in her hometown of Fort Worth. And this poem really encapsulates how Darylyn viewed success. To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the approbation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to give of oneself, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition, to have played and laughed with enthusiasm and sung with exultation, to know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived, This is to have succeeded. By all measures, Darylyn Perriman lived a successful life and left the world a better place. We will never forget Darylyn, and we have been praying for her family and many friends during this time of loss. Please now, let us take a moment of silence to honor Darylyn. Thank you. Now, you may wonder why several of us up here are wearing purple. We are doing that both in memory of Darylyn Perriman and in recognition of a cause that she always held dear, support of victims of domestic violence. This month of October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Domestic violence has affected and continues to affect communities across Texas. Such violence results from a pattern of physical, sexual, and/or psychological abuse. Some of the many costs to victims and to children of victims include increased incidents of depression, acute and chronic health and mental health conditions, developmental issues, and aggressive or delinquent behavior. In 2022, 216 Texans were killed by intimate partners in 64 counties in Texas. This is truly a statewide issue. 14 others were injured, 28 others were killed, and 217 adults and minor children lost a parent. There is sometimes, or there can be sometimes, a stereotyped narrative around domestic violence, but this issue, like any other, cannot and should not be stereotyped. Each incident of domestic violence impacts one or more individual human beings. 179 of those murdered were women, and 37 were men. This represents the second highest number of intimate partner homicides in the last decade. The mission of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice that we as a board support includes as a core element protection and support of crime victims. The Texas criminal justice system plays a significant role in addressing domestic violence by, among other things, holding domestic violence offenders accountable for their actions, enhancing victim safety, disrupting the cycle of violence resulting in intervention opportunities for victims and offenders, breaking the generational cycle and learned effect of domestic violence on children, and sending an important message that there will be real consequences for committing acts of domestic violence. Thus, during this month, we not only recognize victims of domestic violence, we see and hear you, and please know that the women and men of TBCJ will continue to work with and support you. Thank you. Next, I would like to take the opportunity to introduce to you and give a public welcome to retired Air Force Brigadier General Bill Welch, who has joined our board from here in the Austin area. Mr. Welch has held a variety of senior leadership positions in the security and law enforcement fields and had a long and obviously, given his retiring rank, successful career in the United States Air Force. Mr. Welch, and you will hear me refer to him as Mr. Welch, as in a sign of his humility, he prefers to be called that instead of by his rank, is a founder and past chief executive officer of Aptronic, Inc., an Austin-based advanced robotics company. Additionally, Mr. Welch has held leadership positions in numerous business and civic organizations and has served as an elected member of the Barton Springs Edwards Aquifer Conservation District and as the board vice president. He received a degree in criminal justice from Community College of the Air Force, a Bachelor of Arts in Communications from Boston University, and a Master of Science in Technology Commercialization from the University of Texas here in Austin. As you've already seen this morning, and I can tell you by sitting with Mr. Welch one-on-one and in meetings with TBCJ representatives, he has jumped right in to provide valuable service to our board and to the women and men of TDCJ and the Windham School District. Please join me in formally welcoming Mr. Bill Welch with a round of applause. And I'll open up for any comments you'd like to make, Mr. Welch.
No, well, thank you very much for that really kind introduction, and it's really an honor for me to be able to serve our state in this capacity, and I'm honored to have served our country in the military. I'm honored to have served my community at the Barton Springs Edward Aquifer Conservation District and other positions throughout the city of Austin, and now I get this tremendous honor extended to me by the governor to serve our state by serving on this very, very important board. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. In terms of our next recognition, today we are extremely privileged to have among us distinguished guests from the Czech Republic. TDCJ Executive Director Brian Collier will now take a moment to recognize these special guests joining us today. Mr. Collier, please proceed.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman Nichols and board members. It's a special opportunity for me to be able to recognize these very special guests we have today. Today we have a delegation from the Czech Republic Prison Service. They have been here all week in Texas touring our facilities. Last year, I, along with Christina Hartman, April Zamora, and Andy Barbie, as well as Dave Glazier and Doug Drecke from Sam Houston State University, had the opportunity to visit the Czech Republic to tour many of their facilities. We learned much from our visit, and we certainly hope that their visit to Texas will prove to be as beneficial to them as ours was for us. One amazing thing that has occurred this week was that on Wednesday, a Windham School District culinary class from the Travis State Jail was able to connect via the internet through Zoom with a similar class, the culinary arts class, in the Czech Republic, while the both created dishes from their home state. So chili was performed on the Texas side, and I can't describe what was on the Czech side, but it was a very traditional dish in Czech. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that's the first time anything like that has ever happened, and that is very cool that they were able to be part of that for us. Now, I'd like to invite Andy Barbie to the podium, who will help introduce the delegation that we have here this morning, and then I'm going to ask Mr. Drecke to speak. I have a couple more comments at the end, but go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Director Collier. Good morning, Chairman Nichols and members of the board. I'm delighted to be able to join Director Collier in bringing recognition to our good friends from the Czech Republic. As they would say, Dobrý den. That is a good morning, how are you? It's really been a very special experience, as Director Collier said, and it's about the relationships that have been built. The Texas Department of Criminal Justice has had a long-standing relationship with Sam Houston State University and also the Correctional Management Institute of Texas, which is housed out of Sam Houston State University. And thanks to that relationship, we now can point to a relationship that we have with the Czech Republic and their prison services. And at the end of the day, it's a relationship that's about learning. When we were there a year ago visiting on a number of different fronts, we learned. We had a lot of affirmations of practices already underway, and we saw some new things that we could aspire for ourselves. And I think it's safe to say that they have learned similarly on their visit here to us. This is their second visit, by the way. So without any further ado, I would like to ask Doug Drecke to come to the podium and handle the actual introductions for them. Of course, Mr. Drecke is an alum of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. He started with the Texas Department of Corrections some time ago and retired as the director of the Correctional Institutions Division, and since then has taken on the leadership role at the Correctional Management Institute. Doug?
Thank you. Chairman Nichols, Vice Chair Honorable Faith Johnson, Mr. Collier, board members, it's such an honor to stand before you today, especially with our very special delegation from the Czech Republic Prison Services. We at the Correctional Management Institute of Texas at Sam Houston are so honored to serve in this very special role, facilitating the interaction of correctional colleagues across the globe, to share best practices, to learn and see different approaches to solutions addressing our very similar challenges, or affirm the different solutions that each of us have taken to address those challenges, all with a sharp focus on improving our outcomes towards safer communities within our different countries. So it always reminds me about a quote from St. Augustine: "The world is a book, and those who do not travel read only one page." Visiting different correctional systems provides such an incredible opportunity to learn, to observe, to affirm, to challenge ourselves as we interact together with our dear colleagues and now dear friends who opened their doors to us, welcomed us into their system and their beautiful country, and provided us with experiences that will remain in our hearts forever. Our goal this week has been to provide that very same experience here. And Chairman Nichols and honorable board members, I feel strongly that Executive Director Collier, his incredible, passionate, dedicated, and committed leadership team, the men and women of TDCJ have provided an incredible and invaluable and a memorable experience here with the Texas Department of Criminal Justice and in our beautiful state of Texas. They have truly experienced some inspirational programs. We attended a Strive graduation, walked through and learned about all types of education and vocational programs delivered by the Windham School District. Learned and walked in and heard from different treatment and industry programs, and learned all about the number of reentry and reintegration initiatives that are taking place here in TDCJ, highlighting the important work and accomplishments taking place. We even heard from a number of student ambassadors, life coaches, field ministers, all making this an incredible, incredible experience, highlighting the important work you all are doing. So it is my honor to introduce to you Director General of the Czech Republic Prison Services, Major General Simon Michailidis. Deputy Director General for Economy and Logistics, Mr. Yaroslav Misheka. One of their prison wardens and regional director, Colonel Ladislav Blanik. Another of their prison wardens, Colonel Zibšek Trepiš. The director of their prison educational system, Mr. Josef Polsar. He is the gentleman who conspired with Superintendent Christina Hartman to put together the virtual interaction with our culinary classes. And then head of the External Relations Unit, Major Jiří Karavan. And last but not least, who has worked so close with us in putting all of these programs and interactions together, the director of the Director General's office, their chief of staff, Colonel Tomáš Olšar. And with that, please allow me to ask Director General Michailidis to please come forward.
Vážený pane předsedo, vážení členové výboru, milý kolego Briane Collier, vážení přítomní.
Distinguished Mr. Chairman, distinguished board members, distinguished Mr. Collier, dear presentees.
A především milí příteli Dagu.
And at the first place, dear friend Doug.
Já bych chtěl poděkovat za příležitost být tady a sdělit těm, kteří rozhodují o podmínkách o vzájemné spolupráci našich dvou služeb.
I'm happy to be here and I would like to inform those who decide about conditions of our mutual cooperation.
Že jsme velice vděční za možnost, jak už tady bylo řečeno, podívat se na možnosti řešení úplně stejných problémů, jak máme v České republice.
I would like to thank for the opportunity to see the solutions for the very same problems which we deal with in our country.
České vězeňství se před 33 lety vrátilo k principům humánního a moderního vězeňství po 46leté přestávce.
Czech prison system returned to development to modern humanity system after the break lasting 46 years.
Těch 33 let jsme tvrdě pracovali a já jsem velice rád, že dnes můžeme být rovnocenným partnerem takovému systému, jako je texaský vězeňský systém, a máme mu co nabídnout. A také jsem velice vděčný za to, že zde máme k čerpání mnoho inspirací.
We have been working hard for those 33 years, and I'm happy that we can now stand here as a kind of equal to your developed system of correctional facilities, and we have something to offer, but I'm happy that we can also learn.
Abych vyjmenoval konkrétní oblasti, kde si navzájem můžeme být a jsme užiteční, tak mi dovolte jich několik uvést.
I would like to name a few areas which I identified where we mutually could be beneficial to each other.
Je to především oblast zabezpečovacích technologií, moderních technologií a technologií, které umožňují vězňům komunikaci z vězení, z prostředí vězení se svými blízkými.
It's definitely the area of technologies, talking about security technologies, but also technologies allowing the inmates communicate with the outside world.
Je to také oblast vzdělávání a musím říct, že mě velmi příjemně překvapilo něco, v čem se můžeme velmi učit, a to je schopnost sebeprezentace vzdělávaných vězněných osob na velmi vysoké úrovni.
Another area is the area of education. There's definitely something what we have something to learn from. What I was really amazed by is the way the students of your educational programs are able to present themselves in public in front of the others. That's definitely something what we can learn from.
V neposlední řadě je to oblast všeobecné i speciální kinologie, kde, myslím, máme mnoho co nabídnout.
Another area identified is the area of K9 units and talking about specialized K9 units, but also the general one.
A také oblast zaměstnávání vězněných osob a různých cest, které k tomuto zaměstnávání vedou, a především propojení odborné péče, zaměstnávání a následné péče a doprovodu po propuštění. Zde také čerpáme mnoho inspirací.
And another area identified is employment, and also connection of education, employment, leading to the release from prison, and also post-penitentiary care related to counseling to successful reentry.
Mohl bych v tom výčtu pokračovat, ale myslím, že je dobré říci, že ta nejdůležitější podmínka, která nám umožňuje spolupráci, jsou vzájemné, vřelé, osobní a přátelské vztahy. Bez těch by to nešlo.
I could continue naming other areas which we could work on, but I think it's also important to say that there is one condition for successful collaboration, and these are open and friendly personal relations to the representatives on both sides.
dovolte mi poděkovat jménem svým i jménem mých kolegů a vyjádřit naději k dalšímu pokračování této spolupráce, jak na té odborné, tak na osobní úrovni.
Let me thank to our colleagues and let me express the hope that we will continue the relationship and collaboration on professional but also personal level. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I? Hey, before you step down, could I just say a few words? Could you come back to the podium, please? Thank you. Mr. Chairman, thank you for your very thoughtful comments. Translate.
Okay. Pane předsedo, děkuji za vaše komentáře.
None of us has all of the ideas or concepts that will help make our systems better.
Nikdo z nás nemá úplné nápady nebo představy a jde k tomu, jak zlepšit ten systém.
It is only through the free exchange of information among professionals such as yourselves
Je to jediná cesta k tomu je přes výměnu informací a zkušeností.
That we can all make our systems better.
A tím způsobem můžeme náš systém zlepšit.
And we very much appreciate your efforts in building that bridge to accomplishing that goal.
A my velmi si ceníme vašeho příspěvku ke stavění tohoto mostu, aby jsme z našeho cíle dosáhli.
Thank you.
Děkuji.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chairman Nichols and members, for allowing me. I have one item I would like to read quickly, and then I know we have a proclamation as well as a flag flown over the Capitol from Senator Kolkhorst to present to you, and I know we'll take a picture, but I wanted to take a moment and read a greetings letter for you from Governor Abbott. As Governor of Texas, I'm proud to welcome the representatives of the Prison Service of the Czech Republic to Texas as you study our criminal justice system and network with correctional professionals throughout the Lone Star State. Crime tears apart the lives of far too many throughout the world. Thankfully, dedicated criminal justice and corrections professionals work to keep our communities safe. I commend all in attendance for your commitment to education, professional development, and collaboration in the field of criminal justice. This partnership signifies a commitment to cooperation between our nations. I have full faith that this partnership will improve correctional outcomes and promote best practices for the administration of justice from a global perspective. Around the world, law enforcement professionals stand ready to protect and serve. The epitome of courage and conviction, law enforcement professionals have established a legacy of excellence. First Lady Cecilia Abbott joins me in extending best wishes. Sincerely, Governor Greg Abbott.
And Mr. Collier, before you get up, I think Ambassador Sibb would like to say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had a little conversation with Mr. Michailidis about my visit to Prague in 2002 when there was a major historic flood. And I was on the way to meet the Foreign Minister, Jan Kawan. And when I was on my way there, the U.S. Embassy contacted us and told me that I had to evacuate the hotel because the water was rising very fast. So I came back to the hotel, and the embassy put me in another one near the airport so that I could get out. So that was the only time I kept my foreign minister waiting. And Mr. Kawan was very, very nice and very gentle. I had a chance to enjoy a little bit Prague, and I walked up to the castle, and I want to compliment the Czech government for handling that historic flood very, very well. I don't think there are many people who die in that flood. And I remember you had to put a backhoe in front of the bridge because the water was coming down the river so fast with all the trunk of the trees. And if they didn't put a backhoe in front of the bridge, it may have damaged the bridge. But that's a very good memory, and thank you for being here. And next time you bring another Czech delegation, please bring them to San Antonio. That is the birthplace of Texas. And I join everybody to extend to you a very warm welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Ambassador Siv. Let's take a picture.
No, I did not. The embassy told me that. Oh.
Didn't get to say hi to you. How are you doing? You tired?
Yeah, I had a big game, the biggest fundraiser of the year last night. So I flew in this morning. My dad's in the hospital. He's just sleeping at home.
Oh no, your dad's in the hospital.
He had surgery earlier this week, and now he has an infection, so he hasn't actually had to drive from here home this morning to take him. My mom picked him up on my flight this morning.
Oh my God.
She's been crazy.
Yeah, seems like that. No, I'm good. Everything's good, but kind of like you, just trying to keep up with this and that, all the stuff, and I spend more time worrying about my dogs than I think I did my girls. At least they would say that. But yeah, it just seems complicated these days. Does it not seem a little? Not only with the parents, but with the family and trying to keep my house clean. I need trying to get the Halloween decorations up. Yeah, and then all this too. Yeah, well, good. Well, you're right. Nice to know you're right there with the rest of us. But how are your puppies?
My puppies are great.
Are they good?
I had to call my friend to go check on them this morning. Dad was supposed to be taking care of them.
The next item on our agenda are continued recognitions, this time of members of our TDCJ staff who have reached achievements, and by the descriptions you'll hear, you'll understand the level of commitment and contribution that these employees have made to the TDCJ and its mission. So, Mr. Collier, I understand first you would like to recognize Carrie Green on her 35 years of service. If you are ready, please proceed.
Thank you, Chairman Nichols. I'd like to ask Carrie Green to please come forward to the podium. Today, I'd like to recognize Carrie Green, our Director for the Community Justice Assistance Division, otherwise known as Adult Probation, for 35 years of service to the state of Texas. Carrie began her career in 1988 with the Department of Health and Human Services, working at the Austin State Hospital as a service assistant. She later moved to the Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles, where she started working as a parole officer. Carrie then moved into the training field as a staff development specialist, working in the parole division staff development section. Ms. Green's diverse experience and knowledge assisted in expanding her career in the training field at the parole division, and in 2000, she moved to the Community Justice Assistance Division as a program specialist. In 2004, Carrie promoted to the Deputy Director for the Community Justice Assistance Division, and in 2009, she was selected as the Division Director for the Community Justice Assistance Division, or CJAD as we know it. Since becoming the Director for CJAD, Carrie has played a key role in promoting evidence-based programming in community corrections. She led the agency initiative to develop and implement the Texas Risk Assessment System, providing the first ever system-wide risk assessment system in Texas. Ms. Green has worked on many statewide initiatives associated with the implementation of diversion fund grants for community supervision and played a key role in leading our efforts this past session in increasing community supervision funding for all probation departments in Texas. Carrie's job is like no other division director, as she must successfully collaborate with 122 local probation departments and numerous outside entities to help her division achieve success. She expertly navigates those waters and continues to be an outstanding leader for adult probation and TBCJ. Please join me as we recognize Carrie for her exceptional work and dedication of 35 years of service to the state of Texas. Carrie, thank you.
Ms. Green, would you like to share a few words with us?
It is truly an honor to stand before you. As Mr. Collier mentioned, I didn't start in criminal justice. I didn't plan to be in criminal justice. I wanted to work at the state hospital. I wanted to work with individuals who've been diagnosed with mental illness. And then I kind of fell into criminal justice. A friend of mine urged me to apply for a parole officer position. I thought, okay, yeah, I'll do that while I'm pursuing my education over here, and, you know, had all these grand plans. And then I fell in love with it. I fell in love with casework. I fell in love with the people. I fell in love with the opportunity for change. I fell in love with the ability to see people change addictive behaviors, fewer victims in the community, facilitating cognitive behavioral groups where you can actually see light bulbs go off and people start to change their ways of thinking. And then as I move through, you know, parole positions and then even probation positions, you know, into this particular position, when you look back, and God has truly blessed me to be on this journey, it's really about the people you work with. I have amazing people I work with at my division, but also all across this agency and other divisions, other division directors, deputy directors, our executive administration, the work that they have done. And two, if you think about it, that's what we do. It's about people, right? It's about people and relationships. And so 35 years, it's gone by in the blink of an eye, as you can imagine. But I can say that I stand here with more passion and more excitement than I've ever had before for the direction of our agency, but then also the direction of our field in community corrections. So thank you so much for this recognition. I appreciate that. And it really gives me honor to continue to serve this board and also the agency.
Thank you, Ms. Green. If I could just take a moment. So on my desk, I have a little plastic block that has one word on it that a mentor of mine gave me a long time ago, and the one word is enthusiasm. So when I see somebody like Ms. Green or so many employees that I get the pleasure of meeting every day, that's one thing that really shines through. So we appreciate your enthusiastic efforts. Our next recognition is will be coming from Mr. Rene Hinojosa, Director of the Parole Division. Mr. Hinojosa, I understand you would like to recognize two individuals today, Nadia Washington and Walter Holmes, on being promoted to Regional Director positions. If you are ready, Mr. Hinojosa, please proceed.
Good morning, Chairman Nichols, Mr. Collier, members of the board. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to introduce Don't be shy. Introduce Ms. Nadia Washington as the newly appointed Region 5 Director. Ms. Washington will oversee our West Texas area, which consists of 13 parole offices and a little over 10,000 parole clients. Ms. Washington began her career over 18 years ago as a parole officer in our Houston 1 office. She's held many leadership positions with the parole division, to include unit supervisor, parole supervisor, and her last position was the assistant regional director in Region 3, which is our Houston area. Ms. Washington earned her bachelor's degree in social work from Grambling State University and has consistently shown her dedication and commitment to the agency and to our mission. Her leadership, her field experience in operations, and her integrity will serve her well in this new role. Please join me in congratulating Ms. Washington.
Ms. Washington, hearty congratulations on your promotion. Would you like to share a few words with us?
Yes, good morning. Thank you, everyone. I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank my leadership. Thank you all for this opportunity. Thank you for your continued support. I plan to continue to uphold our agency's mission, and I'm just excited for the opportunity to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Holmes?
I'm also very pleased to introduce Mr. Walter Holmes as the newly appointed Region 2 Director for Parole. Region 2 is in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, which consists of 14 parole offices and a little over 18,000 parole clients. Mr. Holmes started his career over 18 years ago in Baltimore, I believe. Yes, sir. So he has 18 years of criminal justice experience and the last 13 here with TBCJ. He's held many different positions within the agency, to include institutional parole officer. It's where I started. A lot of great men started as an institutional parole officer, including my boss. He was a unit supervisor, a sergeant within CID, a lieutenant in CID, and his last position was the director of the Parole Officer Training Academy, or POTA as we call it. Mr. Holmes earned a bachelor's degree from Barton College in North Carolina, where he also lettered for 4 years in basketball. So that's pretty awesome. His great work ethic and his positive outlook has helped him grow within the agency, and his leadership and ability to train teams to be successful will serve him well. Please help me congratulate Mr. Holmes.
Mr. Holmes, would you share a few words with us?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, distinguished members of the board, and Mr. Collier for the invitation to be here today. I am honored by that invitation. I am very, very excited and honored, as I have been throughout my career, to serve in this capacity, and I would like to thank Mr. Hinojosa for the opportunity to do so.
Thank you, sir. Our next recognition will come from Mr. Lumpkin, who you've heard from already this morning. Mr. Lumpkin, I understand you would like to recognize Daniel Dickerson on his promotion to Regional Director. If you are ready, please proceed.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman Nichols, Vice Chair Honorable Johnson, members of the board, Mr. Collier. Come on up here, Dan. Don't be like Perot. Get up here. All right. So this morning, absolutely get to introduce Daniel, and it's actually a little delayed. He was in Galveston, and early on the morning of the last board meeting, due to the incident at the Walls unit of the fire, I actually dispatched Daniel and one of the deputy directors, Eric Guerrero, back to support those operations. But beyond that, without further ado, introduce Daniel this morning. Daniel's actually been in the position of Region 1 since June 1 of this year. Region 1 is the region around the Huntsville area. It goes as far out to Jasper, up to Diboll, and all the units immediately in the Huntsville area. Daniel began his career with the agency at the Polunsky unit in Livingston in December 1997. He has over 25 years of experience with the agency. He served in every rank, every correctional rank, up to senior warden, and in fact ultimately returned to the Polunsky unit after working a number of facilities, and served as a senior warden in 2020 until his promotion to regional director. During his tenure, Daniel has impacted the agency with his correctional knowledge, his camaraderie he builds amongst staff, and absolutely his innovativeness and genuine empathy for others has made him a catalyst for change in the prison culture. Some of you have been to the Polunsky unit and have actually got to see that firsthand. His courage, integrity, and tenacity will continue to be an asset, not only to CID, but certainly to the agency and to the state of Texas. Please join me in congratulating Daniel Dickerson.
Congratulations, Mr. Dickerson. I appreciate you also keeping me out of too much of harm's way and walking the roof of the Walls unit and surveying what the unfortunate situation we had there. But if you would, please share with us a few words.
Well, yes, sir. First of all, thank you to, of course, Mr. Lumpkin, Mr. Collier, Mr. Mendoza, all the executive staff that is able to look at what I do and make this possible. But I kind of brought my wife along because, really and truthfully, to me, I'm a product of my environment, and I think we can all agree with that. I've got a great wife, great kids, great family, and the good Lord has blessed me. He's given me a lot of opportunity. Probably hadn't taken all the opportunities I should. I think we can all say we passed some up. But they presented themselves, and I was able to get a hold of some things. And I am so thankful to work for an agency, especially at the present time, with a vision that's going forth, bringing institutions not to just incarcerating folks, but transforming lives, I believe. I truly believe this is happening. And with Mr. Collier's vision and the 2030 plan, I really think that we're going to see a lot of progress. I know there's a lot of negatives, but I think we got to focus on the positives that are happening, and it's going to get better. But thank y'all all for the opportunity. I really do appreciate it.
Ambassador Siv.
Mr. Dennison, congratulations. Unfortunately, I already finished Region 1. That was the first region I visited. But as Mr. Limkin said, I'll be back.
I think that was Arnold Schwarzenegger. The next item on our agenda are also further recognitions are our Employee Service Awards. The Texas Board of Criminal Justice recognizes TBCJ employees who have dedicated 25, 30, 35, 40, and even 45 years of service to the great state of Texas. These individuals represent the strong commitment of the agency's staff system-wide. Our board and executive director, Brian Collier, express our deepest gratitude for their continued service. So get this, during the months of September and October 2023, 79 employees attained 25 years of service, 28 employees attained 30 years of service, 13 employees attained 35 years of service. I think we heard from one earlier today. 8 employees attained 40 years of service, and one employee attained 45 years of service. Today, I would like to individually recognize the employees who have attained over 40 years for their dedication and service. First, Philip M. Brooks. Mr. Brooks began his career with the Texas Department of Criminal Justice in 1982 at the Cofield Unit. In 1983, he promoted to the position of sergeant, and just a year later, he promoted again to lieutenant at the Ramsey Unit. In 1985, Officer Brooks stepped out of Gray and returned to the Cofield Unit as a case manager until his promotion to as the Chief of Classification at the Pallage Unit in 1991. In 1994, Officer Brooks took on the role of Grievance Coordinator at the Region 2 Director's Office, where he remained until his retirement in 2007. He has since very much proven his loyalty to his TBCJ family, returning from retirement not once but twice to assist in the capacity of a grievance investigator and correctional officer. Today, you will find Officer Brooks proudly utilizing his vast correctional knowledge to help his coworkers at the Beto Unit. Next, Kenneth Lewis. Kenneth Lewis began his correctional career in September 1983 and was assigned to the Stringfellow and Ferguson units as well as the Transportation Department. In November 2015, Officer Lewis transferred to the Goree Unit and was assigned to the Brad Livingston Administrative Headquarters Complex. Known for being an intelligent, self-motivated individual with a strong work ethic, Officer Lewis has demonstrated remarkable leadership skills in his job performance. His engaging personal style and discerning spirit enable him to interact effectively with those he comes into contact. Officer Lewis constantly impresses many with his professionalism, attitude, and productivity. Next, Stephen W. Lindeman. Mr. Lindeman has dedicated over 30 years of service to the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. He began his career February 1983 at the Beto Unit in Tennessee Colony before transferring to the Gurney Unit. While at the Gurney Unit, Officer Lindeman gained the respect of his supervisors and peers through his hard work and dedication to the agency mission, promoting to the position of sergeant. In May of 2010, Officer Lindeman retired from the agency, only to return in February of 2011 as a correctional officer at the Gurney Unit. In 2020, the Gurney Unit was idled, which led Officer Lindeman to transfer to his current unit of assignment, which is the Michael Unit. TDCJ and the Michael Unit are proud to have such an employee who embodies the core values of a correctional professional. Next, Sammy K. Doolittle, Jr. Mr. Doolittle began his career with the Texas Department of Criminal Justice in June of 1983 at the Rusk Unit, now known as Skyview. Throughout his tenure, Officer Doolittle worked as a correctional officer at several units, to include the Ellis, Cofield, Wainwright, and Robertson units, before taking on the role of sergeant at the Middleton Unit. From that unit in 2002, he promoted to the position of lieutenant, which he held until his retirement in 2014. Dedicated to the agency, Officer Doolittle returned just a short 4 months later after his retirement in 2014 as a Correctional Officer 5 at the Michael Unit. With his vast correctional knowledge, dependability, and great character, Officer Doolittle is highly respected by his peers and supervisors. Next, Jose L. Aguirre. Mr. Aguirre began his career with the Texas Department of Criminal Justice in 1984 at the O.B. Ellis Unit in Huntsville. In 1990, he transferred to Hospital Galveston, where he dedicated his correctional career until his retirement in 2011. However, you're sensing a trend. Just a year later, Officer Aguirre returned to the agency as an officer at Hospital Galveston. For the past 10 years, Officer Aguirre has assured the safety and security of his back gate post. Throughout his approximately 40-year career, he has shown his dedication and dependability, rarely missing a day of work. The experience and correctional knowledge Officer Aguirre possesses are an invaluable asset to the agency and to his coworkers. The Texas Department of Criminal Justice is proud to have received 40 years of steadfast loyalty to the agency and its mission from Officer Aguirre. Next, Rodrigo Rodriguez. Mr. Rodriguez began his correctional career with the Texas Department of Criminal Justice in 1979 at the Central Unit in Sugar Land. During his time at the now closed Central Unit, Officer Rodriguez was assigned as a building officer, field force officer, and kennel assistant. In 2004, Officer Rodriguez was assigned to the Jester 3 Unit Kennel Department. While working in this department, Officer Rodriguez helped initiate the statewide scent-specific canine and cadaver program. In 2010, Officer Rodriguez retired from the agency, same theme, only to return 3 years later in 2013. Since his return to TDCJ, He has continued to play an integral part in the fight against contraband with kennel teams at the Memorial Unit, Jester 2 Unit, and Region 3 Director's Office. Next, Kenny Gilstrap. Mr. Gilstrap started his career working for the Texas Department of Criminal Justice on March 11, 1983. Throughout 29 years, he held positions as a correctional officer, sergeant, lieutenant, and captain, working at Hospital Galveston, the Darrington Unit, Stringfellow Unit, Terrell Unit, Retrieve Scott Unit, Ramsey Unit, and PAC Unit, retiring November 30th, 2012. Upon his return to the agency, Mr. Gilstrap had 9 years of experience working in mechanical and agriculture as a maintenance supervisor and program supervisor 3 at the Clemens Farm. He is currently, when he's not fishing, the maintenance supervisor 3 at the Ramsey Unit Farm Shop. Mr. Gilstrap has 40 years of knowledge and great experience in agriculture and corrections within the agency. Now, I told you about 45 years of service. Next, Mildred Joyce Drury. Ms. Drury started her career in 1976 in the original administration building across from the Huntsville unit as a purchasing clerk, holding positions in the following years as a warden secretary and purchaser. After briefly leaving the agency to work for UTMB, she returned to work for TBCJ in the agricultural office in Sugar Land. Ms. Drury was influential in the opening of the Middleton unit in 1993, serving as the supply supervisor for the unit until her retirement in 2008. In 2011, she returned to the agency once again at the Middleton unit as the supply clerk before coming to maintenance as the inventory coordinator. Her lifetime commitment and dedication to the agency have been instrumental in operations of established units as well as the opening of new units. The knowledge that she holds continues to be a great asset to all who know her and those who are directed to her with questions. Ms. Drury's knowledge comes second to her willingness to help and lend a hand to all who may ask. Ms. Drury has served the agency in many capacities in her outstanding 45 years of service and continues to be an asset to this agency. Now, the names of all of these employees will be submitted for inclusion in the official minutes of this board meeting. The Texas Board of Criminal Justice congratulates each of these employees and thanks them for their unwavering loyalty and dedication to the citizens of the state of Texas. As a symbol of our appreciation, each of you will also receive a board certificate along with a personal letter of gratitude. But could we also at this time give all of these employees a great round of applause? Next on our agenda is the consideration and approval of consent items. Today's proposed consent items are listed in the board's posted agenda, and for the excused absences, we will include an excused absence for Mr. Bill Welch from the board's August 25th, 2023 meeting. Are there any amendments, objections, or abstentions to the proposed consent items from our board? Hearing none, the consent items posted for this meeting's agenda will stand approved. The next item on our agenda for today is the election of officers. And board members, due to the untimely and heartbreaking loss of Ms. Perriman, we do need to elect a member to serve as our board secretary. As board officers, the chairman and/or secretary shall execute any necessary documents. And obviously, as with as always, the board is committed to calling on the talents of each board member, which have been exhibited in our meeting already today, in contributing servant leadership to our mission. With that being said, does a member of the board have a nomination to make for a secretary?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and members of the board, I nominate Rodney Burrell as secretary of this board.
I have a nomination that has been made. Do I have a motion in connection with that nomination?
Yes, sir, you do. I move that the Texas Board of Criminal Justice approve the nomination of Dr. Rodney Burrow as Secretary of the Texas Board of Criminal Justice. And also, if we have anything else that's open, since he's not here, I move that we put him there too.
Are you suggesting that people could make comments in support and no one would be here to defend themselves? Is that what you said?
Something like that.
All right. So I believe I have a motion through all that. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, okay, second.
All right. I had a nomination at the end of the table. I had a motion from Judge Francis, and I had a second from Ms. Zeiker. So all those in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? If not, motion passes. The next item on our agenda will be a report from our TBCJ Executive Director, Mr. Collier. I understand you have 3 topics to talk to us about today. If you're ready, please proceed.
Thank you, Chairman Nichols. I'd like to provide you with an update on agency staffing. The correctional officer staffing continues to be our agency's top priority, and during the month of August and September, we hired over 1,300 correctional officers, and we anticipate a little over 600 correctional officer hires for the month of October. Of those we hired, 134 were veterans, and we participated in 11 hiring events targeting military veterans. We also successfully transitioned the formerly privately operated Bell, Diboll, and Estes units to our operations, which included the hiring of 252 employees. We're making good progress with our staffing challenges in other areas of the agency, such as parole, reentry and integration, rehabilitative programs, business and finance division, and other areas. Many of the salary adjustments we were able to make through position consolidations went into effect on September 1st, and we're seeing an increased number of applicants and hires with the higher salaries that we now offer. And I know Ms. Clark advised me that in information technology, their vacancy rate is down to 10%, which is excellent. I would like to briefly mention some new initiatives the agency began last week, the TBCJ Citizens Academy. The Citizens Academy offers community members a unique opportunity to gain an exclusive, behind-the-scenes look at one of the largest correctional systems in the country. There are 11 participants in the program, including aspiring criminal justice practitioners, members of advocacy groups, local citizens, as well as family members of those incarcerated. The goal of the Citizens Academy is to foster meaningful partnerships with the cities of Huntsville and surrounding areas as we spread that throughout the state, providing participants with a comprehensive understanding of the functions of TDCJ. The program features special presentations and tours by leadership from different agency departments. Participants will learn about life-changing programs offered by the Rehabilitation Programs Division, workforce skills taught by the Manufacturing, Agribusiness, and Logistics Division, and resources offered by the Reentry and Integration Division, to name just a few. The Academy consists of 6 sessions held on Thursday evenings from 5 to 8 p.m. at various TDCJ locations currently in Huntsville. The program will commence with a formal graduation ceremony on November the 9th, 2023 at the Prison Museum. This is one of the 2030 initiatives that our Chief of Staff's office has initiated to try to help improve awareness and communication with the public. So I salute them for their efforts in this area. I also want to take a moment and recognize the significant efforts of many of those over the past month that have helped with our system lockdown. The lockdown has allowed us to conduct a comprehensive search of our facilities, as you heard from Mr. Lumpkin this morning, which in turn helps us have a more safe and secure environment for our staff as well as our inmates. Many divisions, as well as the Windham School District, Internal Audit, the Office of Inspector General, and others assisted the Correctional Institutions Division during this lockdown period. I'd like to publicly commend these staff for their help and recognize the staff of the Correctional Institution Division for their hard work and diligence in conducting these searches. And Mr. Chairman, that concludes my remarks.
Thank you, sir. Any questions on that report from any members of the board? If not, thank you, Mr. Collier, and we will proceed with the chairman's report. And in line with Mr. Collier's comments, and in recognition of the fact that nothing in this agency can be accomplished without the type of outstanding efforts that Mr. Collier just recognized, we now take some time to highlight some outstanding achievement among individual employees of the department. So as I call your name, please join us here at the podium. Our first recognition for today is of Arthur Gonzalez, Correctional Officer 5 from the Travis State Jail. Mr. Gonzalez, would you join us, please? Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Gonzalez. 20 years ago this month, Mr. Gonzalez began his career with the Texas Department of Criminal Justice at the Travis State Jail. Over the last 2 decades, Officer Gonzalez has held several positions at the facility. His current assignment is back gate officer. Warden Alonzo Hammond describes Officer Gonzalez as the epitome of what TBCJ is all about because he takes great pride in his assignments and responsibilities while being committed to his role in the agency. Officer Gonzalez, I understand that you say you enjoy coming to work every day and that working for the agency has been a great opportunity. I also understand that you believe one of your most rewarding stories is from a few years ago when you were searching for contraband and when you found a large cache hidden underneath a bridge in a creek bed near the Travis State Jail. I understand that you've said you've learned so much from the wardens and supervisors that you've worked with over the years and that you wouldn't have it any other way. Mr. Gonzalez, would you like to share a few words with us?
I'd just like to thank the board and TDCJ for giving me the opportunity. It's been a good ride.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Our next recognition for today is of Ronald Randall. Mr. Randall, if you would join us, please, at the podium. Mr. Randall, thank you for joining us today, sir. I understand that you began your TDCJ career in January of 2004 as a correctional officer at the Hughes Unit in Gatesville, and that you transferred to the Travis State Jail in Austin in September of 2005, and that's where you continue your duties to this day. I understand, Officer Randall, that you take great pride in your responsibilities and that you help to ensure that the safety, sanitation, and security of the facility is up to agency standards. Warden Hammond says of you that you are, and I'm quoting, dependable and well-respected by his coworkers and the inmates, and when he is on the job, you can always expect a friendly smile and warm greeting from him. I understand, Officer Randall, that you take the agency's retention efforts seriously and that you play a vital role in the day-to-day operations of the Travis State Jail. I also understand, Officer Randall, that you say that you enjoy helping the inmates get ready to transition back into societies we've heard about today, and that you also like helping your coworkers with their daily tasks to complete their assignments. We appreciate your efforts, Officer Randall. Would you like to share a few words with us?
Yes, I thank the Lord for giving me the strength to do what I do every day. And I want to thank the board and the committee for giving me an opportunity and for recognizing me. So thanks for everything. I will continue to serve.
Thank you, sir. And you fully appreciate that it's only through the efforts that you and your colleagues make that we can achieve this important mission. So we thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Our next recognition for today is of Ronette Lenhart. Ms. Lenhart, if you would join us, please. I'm always glad to hear somebody has a cheering section. That's good. So Ms. Lenhart is a Correctional Officer 5 from the Hutchins State Jail. And Ms. Lenhart began working for the agency in June of 2002, as I understand it, as a correctional officer at the Hutchins State Jail in Dallas. Officer Lenhart, I understand that you've spent the last 21 years being a positive contributor and a light for others at the facility. I understand you're currently assigned as a community service officer and that you oversee the peer education classes. Again, something we've heard about today. I also understand that you display every day your vast correctional knowledge, willingness to help others, and a dedication to the agency. I also understand that Hutchins State Jail Warden Jamadri Engi says about you, I'm quoting, "Anyone can hold the helm when the sea is calm, but Officer Lenhart's willingness and diligence to commitment when things are turbulent is a true test of leadership." Very well stated. Officer Lenhart, I understand that you take it upon yourself to provide exceptional support and service to the Hutchins State Jail and community, and that you always go above and beyond expectations. We very much appreciate your efforts, and if you wouldn't mind, would you mind sharing a few words with us?
I just wanted to say thank you. I'm sorry. I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for this award. I was really shocked when it was given to me, and I'm very grateful, and I'm very humble. Thank you.
We are grateful for you. Thank you so much. Our next recognition is of Herminia Franco. If you would please join us at the podium. All right. We got a trend going with the cheering sections. Ms. Franco is a Correctional Officer 5 from the Walker Sale Unit. Thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you.
In October 2007, I understand that you began your TBCJ career as a correctional officer at the Robertson Unit, and that in July of 2008, you transferred to the Walker Sale Unit in Breckenridge, where you have proudly served since that time. I also understand that throughout your career, you have served as a security officer in the Food Service Department and in escort processing. I also understand that your current position is the Security Threat Group and PREA Coordinator. I have heard and from others that you have conducted yourself in an unsurpassable number of investigations into the unit's fight against contraband, which we obviously heard about today, and that you are always eager to help others. Warden Curtis Farr says of you, and I'm quoting, "Excellence is not a skill, it's an attitude, and that represents Officer Franco." I understand that your positive attitude towards the agency and the mission of the agency is inspiring, and that the professionalism you display daily make you a valuable asset to TDCJ. We appreciate you, Officer Franco. Would you like to share a few words with us?
Yes. I would like to thank everyone who nominated me for this. I would also like to thank my coworkers and my family, because without their support, this would not be possible. Especially my son and my daughter. They are my motivation. I have been with this agency for 16 years now. At first, I looked at it as just a job. Now I look at it as a career. My favorite thing about my job is that it is an adventure and a challenge that keeps me on my toes. I'm very blessed and honored to accept this award. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next recognition for today is of Kimberly Mock. Would you please join us at the podium, please? Thank you for being with us here today. Ms. Mock is the unit supervisor from the Austin 2 District Parole Office. I understand of you that you display the true definition of teamwork by assisting other staff members to complete the task at hand as the unit supervisor. I understand that you've taken on additional responsibilities due to staff shortages at doing things such as backup cashier, extra duty days, and working late and on weekends to make sure that deadlines are met whenever you are asked. Landra Celestial, who I understand is your supervisor, said, and I'm quoting, "She is someone who you can count on to help out in a crunch with a smile and a positive attitude," that enthusiasm again, "while encouraging others to do the same. I understand that you grew up in Victoria, Texas, and that you always had an interest in criminal justice from watching TV shows and movies involving law enforcement. I also understand that when you graduated from Stroman High School, you enrolled at Victoria Community College, where one of your favorite classes was on juvenile criminal justice. I also understand that you transferred to Texas State University, where you became a criminal justice major, and that after your graduation, you became a juvenile probation officer in Williamson County in 2008, and that in 2013, you decided that you wanted to work with adults and become a parole officer. I understand that you maintain a positive attitude while encouraging staff to keep moving forward, and that you are a bright light within your office. Your hard work, dedication, reliability, and demeanor shine a light for everyone within that parole office, and we appreciate you. Ms. Mock, would you care to share a few words with us?
I just want to thank Mr. Collier and the board for the recognition. I couldn't do it without my coworkers and my management backing me. I do truly love my job, and I hope to be around for many more years.
Well, we appreciate you, and we know the importance, and everyone recognizes the importance of our community supervision programs and parole officers around the state. So you are a great example for your colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next recognition for today is of Aaron Sharp. Would you please join us? Mr. Sharp, thank you for joining us. Mr. Sharp is the Human Services Specialist 7 from the Reentry and Integration Division. So, Mr. Sharp, I understand that since joining the Reentry and Integration Division almost 11 years ago, you have consistently gone above and beyond expectations while maintaining a positive attitude. I also understand you work diligently to ensure the continuity of care for the inmates who have been approved to release through the medically recommended intensive supervision program, as well as other inmates who are being released with high medical needs. I understand that after the release of an inmate who qualifies for one of these programs, that your work continues to ensure that each such inmate, former inmate, has the appropriate medical and mental health care needed, as well as ongoing support and connections for those released and their families. I also understand, Mr. Sharp, that you are a mentor and coach for the team of human services specialists, that you are always happy to solve any problems and provide valuable insight. I quote your supervisor, Missy McDaniel, as saying, and I quote, "Aaron is an invaluable employee who is always happy to help whenever he's needed. He has a great sense of humor that brings joy to our office, even under stressful circumstances." We appreciate you, Mr. Sharp. Would you like to share a few words with us?
I really appreciate the recognition, Mr. Chairman and the board, and Mr. Collier. I'm very thankful and grateful to be able to have been given the chance to take part in such meaningful and rewarding work, and I'm looking forward to continued service. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, sir. Our final recognition for today, last but not least, is of Valeria Lopez. Ms. Lopez, would you join us? Thank you, Ms. Lopez, for joining us today. Ms. Lopez is a management analyst from the Community Justice Assistant Division of TBCJ. Ms. Lopez, I understand that you began your TBCJ career 6 years ago, and that half of that time has been spent with CJAD, to use the acronym, that your initial role in the division was as an administrative assistant, but that you have quickly advanced to parole officer, where you have gained invaluable experience in adult supervision, which led to your success in the field of adult probation. I also understand that in 2018, you promoted into a program specialist for position in the division, where you applied your field experience to effectively monitor community supervision and correction department CSCD programs. I also understand that you have made recommendations to enhance operational practices, again, that good proactive work that we've talked about, and provided on-site technical assistance to the CSCD staff. I understand that you now serve as a management analyst in the division's Fidelity Operations section, where you analyze operational practices in all areas of the division. CJAD Director, Ms. Green, who we've heard from today, said of you, I'm quoting, Ms. Lopez has the ability to listen actively, empathize with others, and adapt her communication style to different situations. Ms. Lopez, I understand that you epitomize the phrase that, quote, each day is a job interview, close quote, and understand that even small daily interactions can determine the future. We very much appreciate your work. Would you share a few words with us?
Well, thank you, Mr. Collier and all the members of the board for this opportunity and recognition. And thank you to my leadership as well, because I did not see myself here 5 years or 6 years ago. And so just the growing is continuing. So just thank you so much.
Well, we're so glad that you're here, and thank you so much for your work.
Thank you.
The next item on our posted agenda was a report from the Judicial Advisory Council. Due to unforeseen family circumstances, our designee to give the presentation was unable to attend. Therefore, we will hold that presentation for a future meeting. The next item on our agenda is the Internal Audit Status Report. Internal Audit Director, Mr. Chris Cerrito, will be presenting. Mr. Cerrito, please proceed.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Collier, members. Before I begin my report this morning, if you'll indulge me, I'd like to share just a brief story about Carrie Green, who you recognized earlier. Recently, Ms. Green and I had the privilege of presenting a discussion on the future of community corrections at the American Parole and Probation Association in New York City. We had also had the honor of having our two judges present, and as they can attest, Ms. Green blew that out of the water. What everybody doesn't know is Ms. Green and I had access to those slides about 15 minutes before we did the presentation. So congratulations, well-deserved, and the praise well-deserved for her.
So she can think on her feet.
Absolutely. So with that, I will go into the updates to the status report that you have in your packet. The first update for you is Project 2301, Corrections Information Technology System Consultation. That is now a draft report. Next, Project 2306, Structural Integrity of Secure Facilities, is now complete and has been issued to the board. Project 2312-03, a walkthrough on inmate tablets, is now out as a draft memo. Project 2313, our action plan follow-up and tracking project for fiscal year 23, is now complete. Project 2313-1404, Data Management Offender Information System follow-up, is in report writing. Project 2313-1805, which is a follow-up on hazardous materials storage, is now a draft report. And that concludes my update, and I stand for any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Cerrito on this report? Mr. Cerrito, I'll just ask you generally, are you continuing to get the cooperation of management that you need to complete these items?
Absolutely.
Any other questions? If not, Mr. Cerrito, we appreciate your update.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding purchases and contracts over $1 million. Members of the board, I don't ordinarily vote on such matters unless it is to break a tie. However, my firm represents entities included in the purchases and contracts over $1 million. Therefore, I will not be taking any action today on this item. Mr. Steffa, please proceed.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, Chairman Nichols, board members, Mr. Collier. I'll be bringing 5 purchases to the board today for your consideration and approval. The first item is an increase to the fiscal year 22-23 contract for sex offender treatment services due to an increase in clients and services. The second item is an increase to the fiscal year 22-23 contract for the operation and maintenance of the Diboll Correctional Center. This is an increase from previously approved amounts due to an increase in staffing. Item number 3 is a fiscal year 24 DIR, or Department of Information Resources contract for cloud-based analytics technology that will be used in conjunction with the monitoring of the offender telephone system. Item 4 is a fiscal year 24 contract for wastewater samplers and analysis services at 73 units. And item 5 is a fiscal year 24 contract for the rental of tractors used in agricultural operations system-wide. And I will pause for any questions.
Are there any questions or comments from the board on the items presented by our agency CFO, Mr. Ron Steffa? If not, do I have a motion with respect to these items?
Yeah, so moved.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I move that the Texas Board of Criminal Justice approve the purchases and contracts over $1 million as presented.
I have a motion. I think I have a second down at the end.
Yeah, second here.
And a motion has been made by Judge Johnson. It's been seconded by Mr. Welch. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes, and please let the record show that I abstained from voting on the purchases and contracts over $1 million. The next item on the agenda is a discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding the annual review of Board Policy 1401, Revision 20, Investment Policy, and resolution adopting the investment policy. Mr. Steffa, you have this item. If you're ready, please proceed.
Thank you, Chairman. Board Policy 1401, the investment policy, and the resolution adopting the policy can be found behind tab I on page 30 of your packet. Texas Government Code 2256, the Public Funds Investment Act, requires an annual review by the governing body for the agency's investment policy. The policy was reviewed, and a definition and provisions for joint accounts were added to the policy, consistent with Senate Bill 1226 of the 88th legislative session. The signature authority was updated, as well as grammatical and formatting updates. And I will pause for any questions.
Members of the board, any questions on this policy as presented? If not, do I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that the Texas Board of Criminal Justice approve the annual review of Board Policy 14.01, Revision 20, Investment Policy, as presented, and that the chairman sign the resolution adopting the investment policy.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion that's been made by Ambassador Siv. It's been seconded by Ms. Zeiker. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? If not, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Steffa. The next item on the agenda is the discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding adoption of new board rule Title 37, Texas Administrative Code, Section 151.54, employee training and education, tuition reimbursement. TDCJ General Counsel Kristen Warman will be presenting. Thank you, Ms. Warman, for being here, and if you're ready, please proceed.
Yes, Chairman, board members, and Mr. Collier, before you is the adoption of this new board rule, which would authorize reimbursement of training and education expenses consistent with subchapter C and D, Chapter 656 of the Texas Government Code. No comments were received regarding this new rule, and I will pause for any questions.
Members of the board, any questions on this policy or board rule as presented? If not, do I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I move that the Texas Board of Criminal Justice adopt Title 37, Texas Administrative Code, Section 151.54, Employee Training and Education, Tuition Reimbursement, as published in the Texas Register, and that the chairman sign the order to this effect.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
So I have a motion by Ms. Zeiker. I have a second from Judge Francis. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. The next item is on the agenda is a discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding adoption of amendment to Board Rule Title 37, Texas Administrative Code, Section 152.3, entitled Admissions. Ms. Warman, please proceed.
Chairman, board members, and Mr. Collier, the amendments to Board Rule 152.3 would conform this rule to legislation from the 88th Legislative Session, House Bill 2620, relating to the confinement in a county jail of a person pending transfer to the TDCJ, and to compensation for a county, or to a county, for certain costs of confinement. The board did receive comments on the proposed amendments. There were joint comments submitted by the Texas Conference of Urban Counties and the Texas County Judges and Commissioners Association. In addition, the board also received comments from Tarrant County. General comments from the urban counties and the County Judges and Commissioners Association agreed with the public benefit of the proposed rule. Tarrant County also agreed with much of the proposed language and appreciated the opportunity to work with TDCJ to implement the rule. The commenters also argued that the proposed language did not address TDCJ's obligation to reimburse a county after the 45-day period of holding a state-ready inmate. The urban counties and county judges and commissioners proposed adding language regarding that obligation to reimburse counties and the rate of reimbursement. Tarrant County also echoed those comments. While the rule was not modified to adopt the changes requested by the urban counties and the County Judges and Commissioners Association or Tarrant County, because the proposed rule language mirrors the statutory language, the rule was modified to add language to clarify the obligation to reimburse counties for each day over 45 days that an inmate is held in a county facility and to identify the correct rate of reimbursement. In addition, the urban counties and County Judges and Commissioners Association commented that the proposed language of the rule should be clarified to require the Classification and Records Office to identify the specific corrective actions required by the county. Tarrant County also requested similar clarifying language. So the proposed rule language was modified to clarify that the Classification and Records Office will identify the errors requiring correction as suggested by Tarrant County, the urban counties, and the County Judges and Commissioners Association. Finally, the urban counties and County Judges and Commissioners Association assert that the proposed rule does not contain a timeline or a description of the process to be followed by a county when seeking reimbursement from TDCJ. Tarrant County also echoed those comments. The proposed rule language in response to these comments was not modified as requested specifically by the urban counties and the County Judges and Commissioners Association or Tarrant County. However, the proposed language was modified to include language to clarify the process to be used when a county seeks reimbursement from TDCJ and the timeline for obtaining such reimbursement. This is consistent with the policy that TDCJ has adopted for reimbursement to counties pursuant to this rule. I will pause for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Warman. So is it breaking that down? Is it my understanding that the language of the rule is in no way inconsistent with the county's position with respect to their right to reimbursement under the specified circumstances?
That is correct.
Okay. Members of the board, any other questions? If not, do I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I move that the Texas Board of Criminal Justice adopt amendment to Board Rule Title 37, Texas Administrative Code, Section 152.3, Admissions, as published in the Texas Register, and that the chairman sign the order to this effect.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion. Which judge? Oh, I got that. Okay. All right. Got it. I have a motion by Pastor Sprinkle. I have a second by Judge Johnson. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is a discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding proposed revisions to Board Policy 11.76, Revision 9, Benefit Policy. Ms. Warman, please proceed.
Chairman, board members, and Mr. Collier, this policy has been revised to change the title to Benefit Policy from the Texas Department of Criminal Justice Benefit Policy. The authority section was also updated. Offender was replaced with inmate throughout this directive. The policy statement was revised to clarify that the policy establishes guidelines authorizing both the award and prohibition of certain benefits. Section 6 of the policy was revised to reflect that TDCJ now offers employee tuition reimbursement for eligible employees, and additional updates were made for formatting and grammar clarity.
Thank you, Ms. Warman, for the presentation. Are there any questions on this one from the board? If not, do I have a motion?
Yes, sir. I move that the Texas Board of Criminal Justice approve the proposed revisions to Board Policy 11.76, Revision 9, Benefit Policy as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Judge Francis. I have a second from Judge Johnson. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Warman. Mr. Hudson? The next agenda item is a discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding Facilities Division construction project, request a contract for design services to install HVAC, A and C dorms. I think we're going to correct that a little bit. Beto Unit, Anderson County, Tennessee Colony, Texas. Facilities Division Director Ron Hudson will be presenting. Mr. Hudson, please proceed.
Yes, sir. Chairman Nichols, Mr. Collier, members. In your agenda packet, you will see the job scope of a new project for design only to install HVAC, A, B, C, and D dorms at the Beto Unit located in Tennessee Colony, Texas. At the Business and Finance Committee, I briefed this new project and am now asking for the board's approval for a total program cost of $1,182,200. I will pause for any questions you may have.
Just one administrative question I have is are these going to be funds that were appropriated for the current biennium, or how is that working?
Yes, sir. This is part of that $85.7 million that was appropriated for air conditioning.
Okay, so this is actually putting the funds that the legislature gave to us for AC into action.
That is correct, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from any members of the board on this one? If not, do I have a motion?
Yes, we do have a motion, Mr. Chairman. I move that the Texas Board of Criminal Justice approve the request to contract for design services to install HVAC ANC dorms at the Beto Unit, Anderson County, Tennessee Colony, Texas, as presented.
Thank you, Ambassador Siv. I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Ambassador Siv. I have a second from Mr. Welch. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Mr. Hudson, I believe you have the next agenda item, which is the discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding Facilities Division Construction Project, request to contract for design services for structural repairs to inmate housing, J1 through J4 dorms, Linaw Unit, Pecos County, Fort Stockton, Texas. Please proceed.
Yes, sir. In your agenda packet, you will see the job scope of a new project for design only for structural repairs to inmate housing, J1 through J4 dorms at Linaw Unit located in Fort Stockton, Texas. At the Business and Finance Committee briefing, or at the Business and Finance meeting, I briefed this project, of this new project, and am now asking for board approval for a total program cost $1,618,700. I will pause for any questions.
Any questions on this item from the board? If not, do I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I move that the Texas Board of Criminal Justice approve the request to contract for design services for structural repairs to the inmate housing J1 through J4 dorms at the Linaw Unit, Pecos County, Fort Stockton, Texas, as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Zeiker. I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Ms. Zeiker. I have a second from Pastor Sprinkle. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Hudson. I would like to thank all of you for coming here today, and would also remind you that the next meeting of the Texas Board of Criminal Justice will be Friday, December the 15th, 2023, in Huntsville, Texas. This board will temporarily adjourn and will reconvene after our Windham School District Board of Trustees meeting to conduct an executive session which is closed to the public in accordance with the Texas Government Code, Section 551.074. An executive session will be conducted in the Schofield room of our hotel facility here. With that, the 231st meeting of the Texas Board of Criminal Justice is now in recess. It is 12:03. Windham School District Board of Trustees. with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code and the Open Meetings Act. During the meeting, the board will be conducting business from the agenda posted in the Texas Register. Members of the Board of Trustees present for this meeting include myself, Eric Nichols, our Vice Chair, Faith Johnson, Judge Molly Francis, Ambassador Sishan Siv, Dr. Rodney Burrow can't be with us today, Ms. Sydney Zeiker, Mr. Bill Welch, and Pastor Nate Sprinkle. A quorum is present, and the 338th meeting of the board is declared open. This meeting is being conducted in person and is also being broadcast on the Texas Department of Criminal Justice YouTube channel. It is 12:13 p.m. I would now ask our trustee, Pastor Nate Sprinkle, to offer a word of prayer as we start our Board of Trustees meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Will you pray with me? Father in heaven, as we turn our attention and our focus to the blessing of education and the work that the Windham School District does, we thank you for the efforts of all of those who serve and teach faithfully in units across the state. You tell us in your word that we're to be examples of good work and in our teaching to show integrity, dignity, and sound speech that can't be condemned. So we pray this for all who serve through Windham School District. And we say thank you for all the amazing, life-changing, life-redeeming things that you've done, that you are doing, and that you will do through the Windham School District and its employees. Give this board wisdom in any matter discussed today, and may you do, through Windham School District, even greater life-restoring work in the days ahead, so that hope and joy is gained, and you are honored and praised. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Sprinkle. As a courtesy to speakers and guests in this meeting, we ask that you please set your electronic devices to the silent or vibrate mode. There you go. We have already recognized our public officials and staff representatives with us today in person and also online, and we again very much appreciate your being present and for your support, both in person and online. The Windham School District Board of Trustees is committed to providing an opportunity for public presentation on posted agenda topics, as well as public comments on issues within its jurisdiction as provided in Board Rule 300.1. Persons interested in speaking at today's meeting were required to complete and submit a registration card at least 10 minutes prior to the meeting's posted start time. As no cards were received prior to the required deadline, the board will not hear public presentations on posted agenda topics today or public comments on issues within the board's jurisdiction. The next item on our agenda for our Board of Trustees meeting are recognitions. And with respect to recognitions, I understand that the first recognition will be presented by Windham School District Central Texas Regional Principal Azur Mock. Ms. Mock, I understand you would like to recognize the Travis and Halbert Campus Principal, Christy Jones. If you are ready, please proceed.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board, Superintendent Hartman. Christy Jones, principal of the Halbert and Travis campuses located in Burnet and Austin, grew up in a small rural East Texas community with a graduation class of 24. She earned her bachelor's degree in biology from Stephen F. Austin State University in Nacogdoches, Texas. After several years of work in corporate environment, Ms. Jones returned to Stephen F. Austin to earn her teaching credentials, beginning her career at Lufkin High School. During her 6 years in the classroom, Ms. Jones earned her master's in biology as well as her principal certification. She earned her superintendent certification from Texas A&M University while serving as an assistant principal and later a principal for Navasota ISD. During her term at Navasota, Ms. Jones grew to love working with students in alternative educational environments. In 2017, an opportunity presented itself to work in central office capacity. Ms. Jones became the Director of Curriculum and State and Federal Programs for Pewitt ISD. She served in this role until joining Windham School District in June of 2023 as the principal for Travis and Halbert campuses. Since taking on this role, Ms. Jones has been instrumental in the increase in staff recruitment and the development of team-building events. She has also made it a priority to provide quality program evaluation at both of her campuses. Ms. Jones has a heart for community service. She has served on numerous city, civic, and church committees in various capacities, to include President of the Navasota Kiwanis Club, President of Navasota Housing Authority, and Omaha Chamber of Commerce as the 2018 Member of the Year. She believes educators have the loudest voice when they are outside the walls of their campuses. Ms. Jones loves being back in Central Texas and looks forward to getting involved in a local church and the community around her.
Thank you, Ms. Mock. And Principal Jones, would you like to say a few words? And congratulations to you.
Yes, thank you so much. You know, as a veteran of public schools, I will always 100% support what public schools do. But public schools have not been able to capture every single student that comes across their hands and in their classrooms. And so I look at this as an opportunity working for Windham to catch some of those students that we were not able to catch in the public school system. It took me 3.5 days on the job to run into a former student that I previously had. And so know that I will do everything I possibly can to serve the students and the residents at my campuses.
Well, we appreciate you so much and the work that y'all are doing in helping to educate and train and try to do the kind of catch-up work that you're talking about is highly valued by our board. So thank you very much for your work.
Thank you.
The next recognition, I understand, will be presented by Windham School District Communications Administrator Danielle Nichols. Ms. Nichols, I understand you would like to recognize 2 individuals today. If you're ready, you may proceed.
Good afternoon, Chairman Nichols, Superintendent Hartman, and board members. First, I will recognize Ms. Erica Moore. Erica Moore was recently promoted to the Department Director of Instruction. She is currently in her 13th year with Windham School District, where she has served in multiple roles, including student advisor, principal, regional principal, and now in her current position, where she leads the assessment, advisement, and records, federal programs, library services, and professional development departments. Ms. Moore earned her Bachelor of Science in Elementary Education from Stephen F. Austin University, her Master of Science degree in Counseling and Guidance from Texas A&M Commerce, and her Principal Certificate from Stephen F. Austin University. Prior to joining Windham, Ms. Moore worked in the public school system for 16 years, holding roles such as 3rd through 8th grade teacher, special education teacher, and counselor. In her spare time, she enjoys spending time with her family and traveling. Please join me in congratulating Ms. Moore on her promotion to becoming one of Windham's Department Directors of Instruction.
Thank you, Ms. Nichols. And congratulations, Ms. Moore. Would you like to share a few words with us?
Yes, I would. Thank you. Great afternoon, Chairman Nichols, board members, and Superintendent Hartman. I truly believe in our mission for Windham School District. We provide excellent educational opportunities for our students. There is no greater joy than watching our students succeed. Their reaction to success is priceless. So thank you very much for this opportunity and this recognition.
Thank you. Ms. Nichols.
Thank you. Next, I will recognize Raul Leonidas Nuquez. For those of you who are in attendance, you may recall that Raul Leonidas Nuquez was introduced as the Dominguez principal during the February 2023 board meeting. We are pleased to recognize that Mr. Nuquez has received a promotion to the Panhandle Regional Principal position effective September 2023. Mr. Nuquez joined the Windham School District in June of 2019 as a campus principal serving the Torres and Nye campuses and then transitioned to the Dominguez campus. Mr. Nunez has been an educator for over 20 years, encompassing roles such as a high school science and math teacher, principal, federal programs coordinator, special education director, and superintendent. He holds multiple certifications from both the Texas State Board for Educator Certification and Florida Department of Education. Mr. Nunez earned several degrees in the Texas A&M University system, a bachelor's degree with a major in chemistry and a minor in human resources management, a master's degree in business administration and international trade with a focus on international finance and banking, and a Master of Science in educational administration. He is also a certified mediator and holds a training and development professional certification from Texas A&M University. Mr. Nunez is looking forward to sharing his staff and student-centered approach and expertise with the Panhandle region to support the district. Please join me in congratulating Mr. Nunez on his new role.
Mr. Nunez, congratulations. Would you like to share a few words with us?
I wanted to thank the Board of Trustees, Chairman Nichols, Superintendent Harmon. Thank you for the opportunity. Like my fellow colleagues said earlier, we serve students that deserve a second chance. Like my fellow colleague, I have also met several students. Even when I was a high school teacher, I met them in unforeseen circumstances. But this second opportunity gives them hope and a better chance for a better tomorrow. I appreciate that.
And isn't that amazing when you can meet somebody that you've worked with in the system and you see the legacy that you're leaving through the work that you're doing. So we very much appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Our next item on the agenda are consent items, and today's proposed consent items are listed in the board's posted agenda, and our excused absences listed in the agenda will include an excused absence for Mr. Bill Welch from the board's August 25th, 2023 meeting. Are there any amendments from the Board of Trustees, objections or abstentions to the proposed consent items? If not, hearing none, the consent items posted for this meeting's agenda will stand as approved. The next item on our agenda is the report from our superintendent, Christina Hartman. And Superintendent Hartman, if you are ready to proceed, please do so.
Yes, good morning, Chairman, members, and attendees. Today I'll be speaking a bit about our principals leadership meeting that recently took place, and I'll preface the prepared remarks by saying we took a different approach this time, and rather than perhaps developing agenda items at the central office level and some of those higher level positions and presenting to people, we engaged our principals focus group to provide us with feedback on what they thought principals needed. And you'll hear throughout the report some of the practices that were utilized in coming together for this professional development that was received very, very well. On September 19th and 20th, Windham School District principals from across the district came together for a two-day meeting held in San Antonio. Windham principals uphold an unwavering commitment to delivering high-quality education and leadership to our staff and students. By bringing together all Windham principals, staff were given an opportunity to network, share ideas, receive information, and recommend adjustments to campus and district operations that will ultimately produce the best practices to support staff and student success. The principals leadership meeting kicked off with introductions, district updates, and awards. Principals engaged in 6 breakout sessions throughout the two-day meeting. Topics discussed included campus accountability, campus operations, the Americans with Disabilities Act, legislative interactions, assessment security, human resources and legal updates, district brand, and preparation for the Correctional Education Association campus audits, which you all may recall being briefed on during the August board meeting. Maggie Lima, Windham's Human Resources Administrator, Eric Brown, General Counsel, and Robert O'Banion, Director of Operations and Chief Financial Officer, discussed relevant HR topics such as management of leave, new hire preparation, and having difficult professional conversations with staff. Presentations and interactive sessions were also delivered by Windham's Division of Instruction, Assessment, Advisement and Records, Communications, and Operational Support departments. Along with the informational breakout sessions, staff also enjoyed motivational guest speakers. On the first day of the meeting, Windham principals heard an inspiring message from Marcus Forney, Huntsville Independent School District's Chief Academic Officer, on the importance and power of effective campus leadership. Mr. Forney highlighted 21st century leadership, embracing change, and possessing a growth mindset. He said, "Your leadership should be contagious because of the influence you have on others." Mr. Forney encouraged Windham staff to be reasonable risk takers for the benefit of our students and the district as a whole. To round out their final meeting day, the district welcomed health and wellness motivational speaker Todd Whithorn, who has previously spoken at Windham conferences and team building events. His presentation, Empowering Excellence, Unleashing Leadership, and Motivation for Success, touched on ways that employees can ensure they are taking care of their own health and wellness, which in turn makes them better leaders. Overall, the words these guest speakers shared enabled staff to connect what they learned during the two-day meeting to real-world application, allowing them to apply that in the areas across their campuses. Windham School District is dedicated to nurturing the intellectual and personal growth of our students, equipping them for a lifetime of success and responsible citizenship. This statewide principals meeting was an excellent opportunity to enhance our staff's leadership capacity. The district continuously aims to equip our staff with the knowledge, skills, and strategies necessary to navigate the evolution of modern education. Ultimately, our staff's commitment to professional development ensures they remain well-prepared and adaptive leaders dedicated to providing the best possible educational opportunities for Windham students. And I would be remiss if I didn't add to my report today the excitement that I share with Brian Collier and our colleagues at the Travis campus this week when we were able to Zoom with the Czech Republic students. It was really one of the highlights of my career thus far, and I look forward to providing you all with additional information in the future. And would also like to, on behalf of the Windham School District, during this Board of Trustees meeting, acknowledge how very grateful we are for the years of service for Ms. Perryman and how she inspired us, supported us, and made us better. She will remain with us, and we thank her for her leadership. And this concludes my report.
Thank you, Superintendent Hartman. I just want a quick question on the principals meeting. I assume that there was, in these breakout sessions and otherwise, there were opportunities for principals to share ideas about best practices and so forth?
Yes, so the approach we took is separated them into groups of about 6 people, and those were the 6 breakout sessions. They were 90-minute sessions that included scenario-based and modeling, and they were able to practice. Then between each session, they had a 30-minute networking break where they shared ideas, and they truly took advantage of it. I really feel it was a successful event because we listened to the campus principals and addressed their needs.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments following our superintendent's report? If not, thank you very much for that report. Next item on our agenda is the chairman's report. And so today I'd like to take the opportunity to talk about technology. The integration of technology into the Windham School District's educational programs is an indispensable part of preparing Windham students to re-enter our Texas communities. Getting students ready for the technology they will encounter in the free world is an essential part of helping the transition from incarceration to life in that free world. Over the course of the past several months, the Windham School District has embarked on an array of dynamic technological initiatives, all aimed at ushering in a new era of seamless and effective learning environments for students and educators alike. To this end, Windham has added 6 highly skilled instructional technology education specialists to its team. These individuals, led by Paul Gathright, Educational Specialist 2 for Instructional Technology, have been assigned the vital task of guiding the implementation and execution of digital and technology-based projects. Each specialist will work closely with the principals and the administration to align curriculum standards, including various computer software applications, across all campuses. These specialists will promote educational innovation, encourage collaboration among staff and educators, and improve educational services through professional development, ensuring staff are well-versed in new technology within their classrooms. They will also lead the adoption of innovative technology throughout the district. In yet another effort to embrace the digital age for the population it serves, Windham has taken another significant step forward by making the Echo, the longtime Texas prison newspaper, available in a digital format, which is obviously accessible via resident tablets and the district's website. Many, if not most of us, read our newspapers on tablets. I know I do. And now members of our population will as well. The Echo has transformed into a magazine-like format tailored to cater to the preferences of tablet users. Residents now have the access to an array of digital enhancements to the Echo content, including vibrant color photos, as we see here on the screen, that correspond with stories and inspiring design elements. Now, for the ones who can't get away from the newsprint, a limited number of printed copies of the Echo will also still be available in campus libraries. Finally, in September, Windham announced the launch of a newly designed website. This website provides users with an improved, streamlined experience when looking for important information. District programming is now showcased dynamically on the website with ready access to pivotal information such as important announcements, press releases, and photo albums. This website, very importantly, can also be accessed by Windham alumni who can access crucial resources and their student records. The district's key partnerships, such as Women's Storybook Project of Texas and Bulkley Trucking, are also highlighted on this new website, displaying the support that Windham students receive from outside organizations and employers. Windham believes that this renovated online platform will serve as an invaluable resource not only for our communities, but also for Windham's dedicated staff, students, and stakeholders. The Windham School District remains committed to staying at the forefront of educational technology as the district aims to elevate teaching and learning outcomes across their campuses. Through continued investments in technology expansion, the provision of digital resources, and the cultivation of robust community engagement, the district remains steadfast in its mission to provide a modern, equitable, and truly transformative educational experience for all. This concludes my report for this meeting. The next item on the agenda is a presentation on celebrating Texas history, National Hispanic Heritage Month. Windham School District Panhandle, as we just have recognized him, Regional Principal Raul Nuquez will be presenting. Mr. Nuquez, if you are ready, please proceed. There you go.
Okay. Good afternoon, Chairman Nichols, members of the board, Superintendent Hartman. I am very happy and very excited to present on our National Hispanic Heritage Month. Every year, Americans dedicate September 15th through October 15th to recognize and celebrating the progressive impact made by those of Hispanic heritage. This includes histories, cultures, and contributions by American citizens with ancestral ties to Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central and South America. Windham's theme for National Hispanic Heritage Month is Prosperity, Power, and Progress. Campuses and departments are encouraged to incorporate this theme into classroom lessons and activities in the form of listening to cultural music, holding art contests, and creating celebratory posters. Students may also write poetry, essays, and songs to recognize the influence of Hispanic heritage. National Hispanic Heritage Month is a time to celebrate the rich and diverse cultural contribution of Hispanic and Latino Americans to the progression of the United States. This month-long celebration offers a significant opportunity for Texans to honor the history, traditions, and achievements of the Hispanic community, which has played a vital role in shaping the Lone Star State's identity. The history of recognizing the Hispanic heritage dates back to 1968, when President Lyndon B. Johnson dedicated a week to highlight individuals with Hispanic ancestral ties. In 1988, President Ronald Reagan expanded the recognition to cover a 30-day period. It was then enacted into law on August 17 of 1988. National Hispanic Heritage Month is unique as it commences in the middle of September. This timing holds particular importance since it coincides with the independence anniversaries of several Latin American nations, including Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua, which all gained their independence on September 15. Additionally, Mexico and Chile marked their independence on September 16th and September 18th, respectively. The strategic alignment of National Heritage Month allows these milestones to be honored while simultaneously celebrating the month dedicated to recognizing the Hispanic heritage. There are numerous individuals within the Hispanic lineage that have made monumental efforts towards growing Americans as we know it today. To name a few, Roberto Clemente, Susana Martinez, and Jose Hernandez. Clemente, originally from Puerto Rico, came to the United States in 1954 to kickstart his career in Major League Baseball. An elite baseball player, Clemente was a passionate advocate for Latino and Black players' rights, helping pave the way for future generations of Latino baseball players. Also influential is Susana Martinez, the first Hispanic female governor in U.S. history. Born in Texas, Martinez served as the New Mexico governor from 2011 to 2019, prioritizing the safety of communities and high-quality education for all students. Jose Hernandez is an American Latino engineer and former astronaut for the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, better known as NASA. He was a crew member for the Space Shuttle mission STS-128 and served as the chief of the Materials and Processes branch of the Johnson Space Center. He now serves as the regent of the University of California. In addition, Jovita Gonzalez de Mireles, the namesake behind the Mireles High School within the Windham campus, is another powerful woman with Hispanic heritage ties. The teacher, writer, and historian was one of the first Latin American women to obtain a master's degree. She earned her high school equivalency by the age of 18 and completed her bachelor's degree at Our Lady of the Lake College in San Antonio. Gonzalez taught Spanish at St. Mary's Hall before attending the University of Texas at Austin, one of the first women of her ethnic class to do so, and graduated with her master's degree in history in 1930. These are just a few reasons supporting the district's decision to name the Woodman High School program after her. From its early Spanish colonial roots to the contributions of Tejanos during the Texas Revolution, individuals of Hispanic heritage have made lasting and impactful contributions to the state's cultural progression. The positive influence that the Hispanic heritage has had on the progression of America is inspiring. National Hispanic Heritage Month is a time to recognize these efforts and commend the lineage of the contributions that they have put forth and their immense accomplishments. Recognizing this rich history, Windham School District takes great pride in celebrating National Hispanic Heritage Month. This concludes my report, and I will pause for any additional questions.
Thank you, Mr. Nuquez, and I can tell you that this board applauds and celebrates the Hispanic heritage that has meant so much to our state, and more specifically means so much to our Windham School District and the population that it serves. So we appreciate your efforts individually and your great presentation to make sure that we always keep in mind, as you say, the tremendous diversity of our state and its institutions that includes that very important Hispanic heritage. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Mr. Chair, I just love the idea that this celebration starts in September and also extend through October, so we get to do it a little bit in September, and we get to do it a little bit in October, so that was exciting to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I always joke around, we have 2 months, so.
Yes, exactly.
Any other comments? If not, thank you so much for your presentation today. We appreciate it. Next item on our agenda is the discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding the annual review of Windham Board Policy WBP 11.12, Revision 15, Investment Policy, and resolution adopting the investment policy. Windham School District Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Robert O'Banion, will be presenting on this agenda item. If you are ready, please proceed.
Thank you, Chairman, members. I'm presenting on the Windham Board Policy 11.12, known as the Investment Policy for Annual Review. This review is in accordance with Chapter 2256 of the Government Code, known as the Public Funds Investment Act, requiring the investment officer to report to the Windham Board of Trustees any updates to conform with the Government Code. I'm pleased to report there were no substantive changes to the policy that will impact Windham. The definition of joint accounts was added and incorporated into the authorized investments section under repurchase agreements, as well as an update to the signature authority on the resolutions. We ask for your approval of the policy as presented, along with the resolution adopting the investment policy. At this time, I'll pause for questions.
Thank you, Mr. O'Banion. Are there any questions from members of the Board of Trustees? If not, do I have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I move that the Windham School District Board of Trustees approve the annual review of Windham Board Policy 11.12, investment policy, and resolution adopting the investment policy as presented, and that the chairman sign the resolution adopting the policy.
Thank you, Judge Johnson. I have a motion. Is there a second? I have a motion from Judge Johnson. I have a second from Judge Francis. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. O'Banion. That concludes our agenda for today, and I thank all of you for coming here today and attending online as well. The next meeting of the Windham School District Board of Trustees will take place on Friday, December 15th, 2023 in Huntsville, Texas. There being no further business, the 338th meeting of the Windham School District Board of Trustees is now adjourned. It is 12:44 p.m. The $12:45.